Chapter 2037. Alright. I'll gather the forces of heaven and earth Dao Court. Tu Qianjue agreed without hesitation. There were more than 30 heirs of heaven and earth Dao Court participating in the Dao discussion. The 8 people eliminated by Lin Sun were only a portion of them. What about you, Miss Yuro? Zhu Feiyu looked at Yen Yuro. Our cooperation is my personal decision. I don't want to trouble the other disciples of the sect because of our matters, Yen Yuro said softly. Yen Yu said softly, however, if we really go to deal with Jin Di, I will definitely participate. Zhu Feiyu was startled, but he smiled. It's alright. Brother Tu and I can gather the forces together. The 3 of them immediately took action. The martial emperors in the outside world were shocked when they saw Lin Sun break through Zhu Feiyu, Tu Qianjue, and Yen Yuro's encirclement. Previously, they felt that Lin Sun was doomed to die if the 3 peerless monsters in the top 10 of the All Heavens King Sage ranking joined forces. Who would have thought that Lin Sun's battle prowess would exceed their expectations once again? This lad is unexpectedly powerful. If nothing goes wrong, he can already be compared to Ling Hongzhuang, Huangfu Xiaonong, and Mi Wuya. Heaven Yellow Dao Court's sect master, Tai Shu Hong, exclaimed in surprise. These words came from the Dao Court's sect master whose name shook the heavens, and it was already an extremely extraordinary evaluation. Brother Taishu, how can a mediocre person compare to someone I favor? Xia Xinglia smiled and drank a cup of wine. The Fire Spirit Empress of the Universe Dao Court and the Burning Sky Demon Emperor of the Devil Dao Court revealed gloomy expressions. They were actually rather shocked in their hearts, because they never imagined that Lin Sun would actually be able to leave so easily under their encirclement. Now that this lad's strength has been exposed, I'm afraid he will become an enemy in the future, Demon Emperor Burning Sky said coldly. Moreover, this lad doesn't seem to have many allies in the heaven and earth mystery realm. It will be very difficult for him to walk to the end alone. Xia Xinglia sneered. I can support the Great Path 9 Heavens Palace alone. Why can't this lad fight to the end alone? All of you, after being prejudiced, your words have become laughable. At this point, he was too lazy to argue. Facts were often more convincing than arguments. He was looking forward to Lin's next performance. All right. Suddenly, Fire Spirit Empress's eyes lit up, and she pointed at a place in the Xianwang mystery realm. Everyone, look. He defeated 9 top figures of the same generation in one battle. What do you think of Huangfu Xiaonong's performance? It was a gorge that had just experienced a horrifying battle. In the end, only Huangfu Xiaonong stood there alone, and he seemed heroic and mighty like a god. The monarchs nodded in agreement. Huangfu Xiaonong's strength had long since been indisputable. Strange. Mi Wuya hasn't shown himself since the beginning. Now that he's been in the Heaven-Earth mystery realm for so many days, he's actually been hiding in an underground cave. What's he trying to do? Someone else frowned and said, Mi Wuya. He was the core successor of the Panwu Dao Court, ranked first on the All Heavens King Sage list, a legendary figure who shone in the starry sky. However, he seemed to keep an extremely low profile during the Dao discussion this time. Especially after he entered the Skyearth secret realm, he'd been constantly hiding himself, and he didn't have any intention to make a move at all. This naturally made people feel strange. In my opinion, this boy is just like a dragon hiding in the abyss, hiding his strength and guarding his weakness. I'm afraid fighting for the life talisman is not attractive to him at all. Someone said thoughtfully, I heard that this boy has been suppressing his realm for 300 years, and already has the terrifying potential to step into the peak of the Quasi-Emperor realm? Yes, he's regarded as really invincible in the Saint King realm. In the past hundreds of years, he hasn't fought against anyone of the same generation. Oh, does he disdain to compete with his peers? The monarchs discussed. Mi Wuya was undoubtedly a legendary figure that no one could ignore, even if he was only at the peak of the Saint King realm. But with the foundation and reputation he had now, his future was bound to be limitless. In the Xian Wang mystery realm, after breaking through the encirclement and leaving, Lin Sun felt no joy in his heart. Previously, Ting Yichen and returning to the mountains were sneak attacked and eliminated under his nose, which made him feel an inexplicable anger in his heart. Let's settle this score slowly. Lin Sun repeated this sentence in his heart. Previously, if he went all out, he was also confident that he could suppress Tu Qianjue, Zhu Feiyu, and Yen Yuro, but the situation at that time did not allow him to do so. The reason was very simple. The movement of activating the formation to trap Tu Qianjue and the others had already attracted the attention of many people. At that time, when the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fisherman would reap the benefits. As he was thinking, a cold light flashed in Lin Sun's eyes. In the nearby area, he sensed several strong people secretly chasing after him. 2 men and a woman. From their clothes, Lin Sun recognized that they were strong people from the Heavenly Ghost Fighting Clan, one of the top 10 fighting clans. Looting a burning house? Lin Sun stopped and pointed out their whereabouts. Taoism fellow Jean, it's too dangerous to act alone. Why don't we work together? The 2 men and the woman looked at each other and walked out of the dark. The black-robed man who led them said in a gentle voice. Obviously, they recognized Lin Sun. Lin Sun said, "Sorry, I'm not in the mood." The black-robed man smiled and said, "Brother Jean, you really don't want to think about it?" There was a faint threat in his voice. Lin Sun was stunned. He glanced at the 3 people and roughly judged that they obviously didn't know about the battle between him and Tu Qianjue and the others. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to talk to him like this at all. Shaking his head, Lin Sun ignored them and flashed forward. He didn't want to waste any more time. He had to find Jintian Xianyue as soon as possible and then start to prepare for revenge for Ting Yichen and returning to the mountains. It's just a small number 1 in Yunzhou. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Suddenly, a young man in a silver robe snorted coldly. He took a step forward and slashed out with his saber. Whoosh! The saber chi was dazzling like a sharp bolt of lightning thousands of meters long. It emitted a fierce and dense aura of destruction and ancient totem mysteries. The black-robed man's eyelids twitched. He was about to stop Lin Sun, but it was too late. Lin Sun didn't look back, but a handful of dazzling sword chi burst out from his back. Puff! The lightning-like saber chi burst into pieces, and the silver-robed man was cut by the sword chi. His skin and flesh were torn and blood splashed. Before he could scream, he was moved out of the mysterious yellow secret realm. Lin Sun's figure had already disappeared. From beginning to end, he didn't look back, and he didn't even collect the fallen life talisman. The black-robed man and the woman beside him gasped. Their scalps were numb and their hearts were shocked. Only then did they realize that they had kicked a big iron plate. Not long after, Lin Sun frowned again. In his spiritual sense, he once again sensed an aura rapidly moving over from the road in front of him. But the next moment Lin Sun was stunned. In the void far away, a graceful figure flashed out. She was as beautiful as a fairy and graceful as a god. However, her snow-white clothes were stained with blood, scarlet and dazzling. Her pretty face was slightly pale, and her aura faintly showed signs of disorder. Xianyue. Lin Sun's pupils dilated. How could she become like this? Child. When seeing the familiar figure of Lin Sun, Jintian Xuanyue's clear eyes were filled with surprise. She breathed a long sigh of relief and said, "Fortunately, child is blessed by God. Nothing happened to you. Don't worry about me. How did you get hurt?" Lin Sun had already come to greet her. As he looked up and down, his heart trembled. At this moment, Jintian Xuanyue's body was covered with sword wounds, saber wounds, fist marks and claw marks. In some places, her skin and flesh were badly mutilated, and her bones could be seen. That scene of being riddled with scars was simply a ghastly sight. Lin Sun's distressed and caring eyes made Jin Tian Xianyue feel warm in her heart. After calming herself down, she said, I heard that young master was being chased by two Qianjue's group from the Heaven and Earth Tao Court, so I immediately rushed over. Who would have thought that I would be ambushed halfway and be surrounded on the road? Speaking of this, a smile appeared on her pale and beautiful face. She looked up at Lin Sun and said, Fortunately, they failed to stop me. Now I see that you are safe and sound, I can be completely relieved. Her voice was soft and cheerful, and her joy was beyond words. For the first time in his life, Lin Sun looked at Jin Tian Xianyue in front of him so seriously, and his heart trembled. She was so seriously injured, but she only thought of coming to save him. When she saw that she was fine, she was so happy and delighted that she completely didn't realize how serious her injuries were. For a moment, Lin Sun felt a kind of unspeakable shame in his heart. Back when they were on the boat, Jin Tian Xianyue had been by his side. She was originally arrogant and conceited, and she was treated like a pearl in the palm of the Jin Tian clan. From that day onwards, she had taken on the role of a Dao attendant without any complaints or regrets. Along the way, she was always well-behaved and docile in front of him. She made tea for him, took care of his food and clothing, shared his worries and difficulties, and for him, she was the descendant of the White Emperor of ancient times. She was the beloved daughter of Fufeng Sword Emperor. She had done so much for him, but he didn't seem to care much about it. Lin Sun was stunned, and his heart was in turmoil. Scenes of the past intertwined in his mind, making him feel suffocated when he saw Jin Tian Xianyue's joyful smile. Child, what's wrong with you? Jin Tian Xianyue couldn't help asking. She felt that Lin Sun was a little abnormal. There were too many emotional fluctuations in his eyes that had never been seen before. Nothing. Taking a deep breath, Lin Sun forced himself to restrain the tumbling emotions in his heart. He put his hands on Jin Tian Xianyue's shoulders and said, Xianyue, from now on, you can take care of yourself. I will shelter you from wind and rain. Chapter 2038. Shelter from wind and rain. Just these 4 words caused Jin Tian Xianyue to be stunned. Tears uncontrollably flowed out of her clear, star-like eyes. In the past, she was a peerless talent of the younger generation of the Jin Tian clan, a family of the far ancient imperial clan, and was famous in a region. But since she followed Lin Sun, she seemed to give up everything and started from scratch, completely restraining her pride and conceit. Since she entered the Hongmeng world, she had been with Lin Sun all the way, experiencing all kinds of hardships together. But now, as Lin Sun said these words, Jin Tian Xianyue suddenly felt that what she had done and thought since she followed Lin Sun, everything was worth it. Why are you crying? Lin Sun was stunned and nervous. He thought Jin Tian Xianyue was hiding some grievances in her heart. I'm happy. Jin Tian Xianyue took a deep breath and held back her tears. A strange expression appeared on her face as she said, Young master, I will engrave the word shelter from the wind and rain in my heart for the rest of my life. I will never forget it. Lin Sun smiled. I mean what I say. Let's go, I'll take you to vent your anger first. Jin Tian Xianyue wanted to remind Lin Sun not to be so rash, but when the words came to her mouth, she blurted out, Child, I'll listen to you. As soon as the words came out, she felt ashamed in her heart, as if she was bullied and found someone to rely on. Let's go. Lin Sun said. Because of what happened to Ting Yichen and Green Mountain Xing, he had nowhere to vent his anger. Now even Jin Tian Xianyue was bullied like this, which made Lin Sun unable to bear it anymore. Whoosh! Lin Sun waved his sleeves, and a cloud emerged, carrying him and Jin Tian Xianyue away. On the way, Lin Sun also learned that the group of people who besieged Jin Tian Xianyue came from primitive Taoist court, led by Xian Rujia, ranked 17th on the Holy King list. Except for Xian Rujia, the others were also the core figures of primitive Taoist court. Otherwise, Jin Tian Xianyue wouldn't have suffered such a serious injury. Have they caught up with us? To Lin Sun's surprise, not long after they set off, a group of people appeared on the road far away. Jintian Xianyue recognized the leader at a glance. Young master, please look, that guy is Xen Rujia. Jintian Xuanyue's eyes flashed with coldness. In the previous battle, she had played it down, but in reality, it was extremely dangerous. If she had not risked her life to fight, she would have been eliminated long ago. Lin Sun looked up and saw that the leader was a thin man in a blue Taoist robe, with a jade-like face and a pine-pattern ancient sword under his feet. Flowers of the great Tao appeared above him, and it was a shocking scene. A group of men and women followed closely behind him, and it made him seem even more extraordinary and divine. Yo, the Jintian clan's young miss has found a helper? When they saw Lin Sun and Jintian Xianyue, Xan Rujiao and others were stunned at first, and then they all revealed a mocking smile. TSK, I was wondering which hero it was. So it's just the number one person in Cloud State, Jin Di. Miss Xianyu, you're not trying to find a doctor in a desperate situation, are you? Someone sneered with a playful expression. It's still the same words. Any prey that is targeted by our primordial Tao court has no chance of escaping. Not to mention, we have to avenge senior brother Kong Yu. Xian Rujia, the leader, said coldly. Lin Sun understood that the reason why these descendants of primordial Tao court attacked Jintian Xianyue was because of Kong Yu, who died in his hands. Xianyue, watch carefully. If one of them can escape today, I will be sorry for your company all the way. Lin Sun's black eyes were deep, and the killing intent surged in his heart like molten lava, which was almost uncontrollable. Xian Rujia and others all showed a look of astonishment, and then they burst into laughter. Lin Sun was just the number one person in Cloud State, but his tone was so arrogant. This was too strange. How terrifying was Lin Sun's current combat power? Even Jintian Xianyue was not sure. She only knew that these laughing guys were doomed to be unlucky next. Jin Di, I advise you to change your name quickly. People like you dare to take such a name. Aren't you afraid of dying? A man in a golden robe laughed and teased. Really? In the indifferent and cold voice, Lin Sun moved and raised his hand to point gently in the void. On the head of the man in a golden robe, a vast finger power condensed, surging with obscure and unpredictable terrible light. The finger power pressed gently. Boom! That expanse of space collapsed and exploded. The golden-robed man roared and used all his strength to resist, but his figure was suppressed to the point of sinking inch by inch into the ground. The veins on his body bulged, and his face was suffocated to the point of almost bleeding. In the end, he couldn't resist it. Like a nail, he was smashed into the ground and the earth shook. With a fluctuation of the void, the man in a golden robe was eliminated in just a moment. The smile on the faces of Xian Rujia and others froze, and their bodies were cold. They were all caught off guard by the previous scene. They didn't expect that Lin Sun would act so decisively. The first one. Lin Sun began to count. His expression was neither sad nor happy, but there was monstrous anger and killing intent in his black eyes. He needed to vent. Let's go together, Xian Rujia shouted. Above his head, flowers condensed by the law of Great Way bloomed, and wisps of sharp sword chi emerged and chopped at Lin Sun. 36 flowers bloomed, and the sword cut through the 9 heavens. At the same time, other descendants of the primitive Taoist court also launched a fierce attack. They either activated the incomparably wonderful Taoist magic or sacrificed the colorful treasures. Each of them was more powerful than the other. That scene was enough to make any Saint King tremble. However, Lin Sun looked calm, as if he was unaware of it. His clothes were fluttering, and he rushed forward. A broken sword made a clear sound, as if it felt the killing intent in its master's heart and was about to devour him. Around him, there were endless Taishin sword chi flowing out, turning into sword curtain, sword rain, sword storm, sword mountains and rivers. At this moment, under the stimulation of anger, His spirit was roaring and boiling like a big furnace, and all his power was running with all his strength. At this moment, he didn't intend to hold back anymore. Kill! With his long black hair flying, Lin Sun's figure was bright, like a peerless blade, flashing between heaven and earth, and his breath was like a demon. Boom! The battle broke out, and the world was turbulent. The chaotic divine light and treasure light intertwined and spread, causing the void to be chaotic, and the rocks and plants to be crushed. Puff! In just 3 seconds, a person's chest was pierced by a broken sword, and his whole body was slashed and flew out fiercely, letting out a shrill scream. Before his figure fell to the ground, he was taken out of the mysterious yellow secret realm in midair. Kill, kill! At this moment, Exhilarating Rujia's face also changed. When they really fought, they realized how terrible the combat power of their opponent was. Originally, this should have been a battle of encirclement, but the opponent was like a sharp awl that forcefully tore apart their encirclement with irresistible force. 10 seconds. Another unwilling roar sounded in the field. A person was crushed by the sword mountain derived from the Taishian sword qi. His body cracked and bled, and he was eliminated. At this moment, Lin Sun was invincible, and his courage was matchless. His opponents were a group of Saint Kings, the core figures of the primitive Taoist court, one of the 6 Taoist courts. Each of them had an extremely strong Tao foundation, and in the outside world, they could be regarded as overlords in the same realm. But at this moment, under Lin Sun's attack, they looked very weak. No matter who it was, as long as they were targeted by Lin Sun, they were destined to be eliminated. 30 seconds. Damn it! Bastard! Accompanied by a deafening roar, the 3 successors of the primitive Taoist court were swept away by Lin Sun's cut of heaven, and their bodies flew out like broken kites. Blood sprayed from their mouths and noses, and they saw stars. Before they could stand still, Lin Sun had rushed to kill them again, and defeated them easily and eliminated them. The unparalleled invincible posture made Exhilarating Rujia and the others' eyes almost pop out of their sockets, and they were shocked and angry to the extreme. They couldn't imagine how the combat power of the first person in Yunzhou could be so heaven-defying and terrible, and it completely subverted their inherent understanding. Kill! Lin Sun's black eyes were cold. Although he didn't use the Tao field, with his current strength, every move was branded with the mystery of the Tao field, and it was full of unparalleled power. Under such a killing attack, the formation of Exhilarating Rujia and the others was completely broken. Not to mention jointly suppressing Lin Sun, they had to dodge at all times to avoid Lin Sun's attack. In the distance, Jintian Xianwei witnessed this scene, and her heart was filled with a kind of indescribable joy and emotion, and a smile appeared on her pale lips. She knew that Lin Sun was avenging her. There were also people who tried to attack her, but they were intercepted by Lin Sun halfway, and he defeated them in an absolutely crushing manner. Even Exhilarating Rujia, who was ranked 17th on the Holy King list, couldn't contain Lin Sun's attack at all. On the contrary, he was suppressed by Lin Sun again and again, and he coughed up blood again and again. In the field, screams, roars, and curses mixed with the earth-shattering sound of battle resounded one after another. In this area there was a rain of blood, and the air was filled with a horrifying atmosphere. And Lin Sun was like a devil who pushed forward, sweeping away all obstacles along the way, and no one could fight him head-on. Boom! In the burst of the rain of light, another person was punched by Lin Sun, and the protective armor on his body suddenly burst into pieces, and this person was eliminated without any accident. So far, a total of 9 successors of the primitive Taoist court had been suppressed, and there were less than 6 people left beside Exhilarating Rujia. More than half of them had been injured, and the hearts of Exhilarating Rujia and others had long been covered with a shadow of fear, and they were horrified by Lin Sun's extraordinary fighting power. Run! Run! This guy is not our opponent at all. Go to help senior brother Kong Zhao. Exhilarating Rujia and others directly chose to escape, for there was no way to fight at all. The opponent was like a sickle, and they were like straws. How could they fight? Unfortunately, they didn't know that Lin Sun, who was stimulated by anger, had never intended to let anyone go from the beginning. Chapter 2039. An invisible devouring force, centered on Lin Sun's figure, suddenly spread in all directions. The nearby rocks and plants were instantly turned into powder, and a huge vortex appeared in the void, spreading in all directions. Damn it, what is this power? Why can't I resist it? There were screams. The disciples of the prehistoric Tao court that were fleeing in all directions felt as if they were grabbed by a large hand from behind and dragged fiercely, causing their fleeing figures to suddenly stop moving. Boom! The void was turned into a storm vortex, and the terrifying devouring force made the place where Lin Sun stood like a starry black hole. Xian Rujia and others struggled desperately, but they seemed to be trapped in a swamp, going against the current. They looked tired and horrified. What kind of power was this? At this moment, Lin Sun stretched out his figure and displayed Taixian's sword Qi, first cut of heaven yuan, fist of shaking heaven, 9 changes of calamity dragon, great divination void-breaking finger, and so on. They rushed to Xian Rujia and others. For a time, this area was in chaos and turbulence. Smoke and dust filled the air, and blazing divine light covered the universe. Some people were swept by the boundless sword Qi, screaming and wailing. Some people were hit by the fist Qi and flew out upside down. Some people were smashed by the broken sword, bleeding from 7 orifices. Some people, these bloody scenes happened almost at the same time in an instant. When the haze dissipated, the dust settled. In the field, except for the life talismans on the ground, Xian Rujia was the only one left, and the others were eliminated. Jin Tian Xuanyue's heart was filled with uncontrollable shock. The young master, he was getting stronger and stronger. Xian Rujia seemed to have lost his soul. His face was gloomy and his eyes were lifeless. He murmured, "No, this is impossible. How can a person do this? You must have cheated, you must have used a forbidden secret method." At the end of his words, his face suddenly became ferocious, and he roared like a madman. Lin Sun said indifferently, "There are so many emperors watching outside. If I cheated, can I still stand here safely?" "No, you must have cheated." Xian Rujia roared, and his eyes were red. He couldn't accept all this. All of them were core disciples of the primordial Tao court, and any one of them could be considered to be an overlord in the other prefectures of the primordial world. Yet now they'd been utterly defeated by a single person, and they'd completely shown the scene of a defeated army collapsing like a landslide. This made Xian Rujia's heart bleed. How could he accept this? Lin Sun didn't want to say more. Whoosh! The broken blade swept out and a cold light flashed. In just a few breaths, Xian Rujia was defeated and eliminated. Before being eliminated, Xian Rujia let out an indignant and angry shout. "You cheated! You despicable thing! You must have cheated!" In the outside world, many Emperor Realm experts fell into a rare silence. Even with their temperament and experience, after witnessing Lin Sun's one-against-many and absolutely crushing battle, they couldn't help but feel a ripple in their hearts and were unable to calm down. Did he cheat? That's impossible. With so many old fellows watching, how could they allow a cheating situation to occur? But it was also because of this that they felt Jin Di was more and more terrifying. A single person crushed everyone like a hot knife through butter, and the descendants of the primordial Tao court couldn't resist at all from the beginning to the end. This was undoubtedly too shocking. After a while, Tai Shu Hong sighed with emotion. Among all the Saint King realm experts in the world, Jin Di can be said to be second to none, and in this mysterious yellow secret realm, there are bound to be very few who can compare with him. At this moment, Empress Huoling, Demon Emperor Burning Sky, and others were speechless. In the face of absolute facts, even they had to admit that they had indeed underestimated this young man called Jin Di from the beginning. Xia Xinglia drank a cup of wine and winked at Xia Xiaochong. Little girl, what do you think of Jin Di? If he is Brother Lin, then he's one of the best in the world. If not, just forget what I said. Xia Xiaochong said crisply. Xia Xinglia couldn't help laughing. Let's go, I'll take you to heal. After defeating Xian Rujia and the others, Lin Sun left the battlefield with Jintian Xianyue. In less than an hour, he defeated Wu Huang and the others, and trapped Tu Qianjue and the others with the formation. Even when he was besieged by Zhu Feiyu, Yen Yuro, and Tu Qianjue, he broke through the siege without any danger. Until just now, when he doted on Xian Rujia and the others, although Lin Sun was not injured, he also felt a wave of fatigue. He had a hunch that from today onwards, in this mysterious yellow secret realm, there would be many eyes on him. Sure enough, on the same day, news about his achievements swept through the mysterious yellow secret realm like a storm. For a time, it caused many surprise and uproar. No one had expected that the #1 cultivator in the Cloud Prefecture would be so ferocious. He was able to suppress the joint attack of the core disciples of the 6 great Tao courts by himself. Jin Di. When Ling Hongzhuang heard the news, she had just defeated a group of opponents and obtained more than 10 life talismans. She was quite surprised. Looks like there will be one more person in the list of characters that can be battled. A glint flashed across her eyes. Junior brother Tu Qianjue and a group of people were no match for him. It seems that this person's combat strength is strong enough to compete for the top 3 on the King Sage list. Huang Fu Xiaonong was deep in thought. There was always someone better than him. He knew very well that there were many hidden monstrous figures in this mysterious yellow secret realm. Like the moon, like fire, like white. But he did not expect that there would be such a shocking and ruthless figure in a place like Cloud State. If I run into him, I'll have to test this kid's strength. Huang Fu Xiaonong's figure was like a god, and his eyes were full of divine light. This guy is still as fierce as before. Xian Juyin sighed. Xian Juyin, the young man in linen, sighed. Originally, he thought that if he could meet Lin Sun in this Tao discussion grand meeting, they could have a spar and compete. But now, he finally suppressed this idea. This damn thing. When Kong Zhao of the primitive Taoism court learned of this, his face suddenly became extremely cold. He could not forget the scene where he was injured by Lin Sun outside the mountain gate of the black-yellow Taoism court before the Taoism discussion grand meeting began. This was regarded as a shame by him. What he did not expect was that now, Xian Rujia and other disciples of the primitive Taoism court had all been killed by this person. If I don't suppress you, how can I, the successor of the primitive Taoism court, show my face? Kong Zhao's heart was surging with killing intent. At the same time, Zhu Feiyu and Tu Qianjue had already taken action. They were contacting their fellow disciples to take action together against Lin Sun. Brother Jin is in big trouble. Lu Dubu let out a long sigh, his expression uncertain. Beside him, Xie Yuhua, Wang Tu, Su Muhan, and Ling Xiujia all had different expressions. They all came from Yunzhou and had seen Lin Sun's performance in Yunzhou's Tao discussion competition. But they did not expect that this guy, who had once suppressed them, would be so powerful. Now, the successors of the Heaven and Earth Taoism court, the primitive Taoism court, and the Devil Taoism court all have a grudge against Brother Jin. This is only what we know. Whether there are others targeting Brother Jin, we can't be sure. Lu Dubu pondered and said, "Everyone, do you think we should go to support Brother Jin?" This sentence made Xie Yuhua and others silent and hesitant in their hearts. Support? I think it's suicide. This guy is already the target of public criticism. How can we fight against those terrifying figures? Wang Tu said without hesitation, "In my opinion, it's best to let him fend for himself." At the beginning, didn't Brother Lu also invite Jin Di and Jintian Xianyue to act together, but they didn't give us a clear answer. Su Muhan took a deep breath and said, What's more, with our strength, it's impossible to fight against the core successors of those giants. If we go to support Jean Di, it's very likely that we'll all suffer. It's not wise. It seems that everyone thinks so, Lu Dubu said in a deep voice. Then let's do it. Xie Hua originally wanted to say something, but seeing this, she sighed in her heart and immediately lost the mood to speak. At this moment, Leng Xiujiao, who had been silent, suddenly turned around and walked into the distance. Brother Ling, where are you going? Lu Dubu couldn't help but ask. I heard that Jean Di was targeted by the successors of those great forces because he wanted to save Ting Yichen and returning to the mountains. Now that he's in trouble, I'm going to do what I should do. Leng Xiujiao didn't look back and his figure gradually disappeared. Seeing this, the expressions of Lu Dubu and the others changed indeterminately. This guy is simply impulsive. When he's implicated by Jean Di and eliminated, let's see if he regrets it. Wang Tu snorted coldly. Everyone has their own ambitions. It's more important for us to do our own things. Lu Dubu sighed. He knew that not helping Jean Di was the wisest choice, but he was still a little unhappy in his heart. It was as if, after making this choice, he had lost something. I only hope that Brother Jean is blessed by heaven and can persist to the end, Xie Yuhua also sighed faintly. When the situation in the whole mysterious Yellow Realm was changing, an underground cave was opened in the depths of a huge ravine where not even a blade of grass grew. Outside the cave, there was a Taoist restriction formation that concealed the aura. Inside the cave, Jintian Xianyue was swallowing the divine medicine to heal his injuries, while Lin Sun was adjusting his breath to restore his physical strength while studying the jade slip left by senior brother Xiankong. The atmosphere was quiet, as if isolated from the world. The two of them were completely unaware of the storm outside. If we can hide here until the end of this discussion, that would be great, suddenly Jintian Xianyue, who was healing, said softly. Chapter 2040. Jean Di had disappeared. As time went by, the experts distributed in the mysterious Yellow Secret Realm found that Jean Di, who had been targeted by many terrifying figures, had disappeared without a trace. He must be hiding somewhere. Search, even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground, we must find him. Tu Qianjue's face was gloomy. He had gathered a group of experts from the Heaven and Earth Taoism court and obtained the support of Huangfu Xiaonong. When they found Lin, as long as they spread the news, Huangfu Xiaonong would come to support them as soon as possible. That's right. Jean Di has obviously sensed that something is amiss and has retreated. Everyone, let's search together. The Black-Yellow Mystery Realm is not big. With our manpower, we should be able to search the entire place in less than 7 days. Zhu Feiyu said in a low voice. Around him, a group of descendants of the Devil Court followed. It was a luxurious lineup, including some ruthless figures ranked in the top 30 on the Holy King list. Moreover, neither Tu Qianjue nor Zhu Feiyu worried about whether they would encounter any opponents during the search. After all, any sane expert would run away the first time they saw such a large lineup. They would not dare to fight against them at all. In another area, the descendants of the primitive Taoism court, led by Kong Zhao, were also searching for Lin's whereabouts aggressively. It seemed that they would not stop until they killed Lin. Under such a vigorous search and capture operation, some experts who had been hiding in different parts of the mysterious Yellow Secret Realm all complained secretly. Most of these people possessed marvelous methods of concealing themselves, and they hoped to conceal themselves in order to avoid the horrifying battles and persist until the end. They didn't have any hope of seizing the life talisman at all. But now, as the large-scale search for Lin Sun began, their hiding places were all discovered. Many people were eliminated by Tu Qianjue, Zhu Feiyu, and the others. Damn Jean Di, he caused such a big trouble, but he doesn't care about others' lives. In this way, how can there be a place to hide in the mysterious Yellow Secret Realm? It's over. Without a place to hide, How can people like us be a match for the descendants of the 6 major Taoism courts and the top 10 war clans? Many people complained and criticized Lin Sun in their hearts. In the depths of a world of ice and snow. Quick, there's an underground ice cave here. When Zhu Feiyu, Tu Qianjue, and the others arrived, the scene of an underground ice cave covered in ice and snow appeared in their divine senses. At this instant, the hearts of everyone went cold for no rhyme or reason, and they sensed a strand of a faintly discernible aura of danger. Could this be Jin Di's hiding place? Someone shouted. There were also some people who wanted to go forward and blast open the ice cave by relying on their numbers, but they were stopped by Zhu Feiyu. Don't move. Everyone, be careful. His expression was unusually solemn. This isn't Jin Di's aura. Tu Qianjue's expression also changed. Could it be? Misty Rain's pupils constricted, as if she had guessed something. Seeing the 3 peerless figures in the top 10 of the All Heavens King Saint ranking acting as if they were facing a great enemy, everyone else felt a chill in their hearts and became vigilant. The atmosphere also became oppressive and austere. Only the sound of the biting wind and snow could be heard. Jin Di? Has this person become so powerful that all of you have to join forces before you dare to attack him? A voice that was as calm as water suddenly resounded in the world of wind and snow. Every word reverberated like the sound of the Tao. They were ethereal, yet they reached the hearts of people. The expressions of Zhu Feiyu, Tu Qianjue, and Misty Rain changed again. They saw a thin figure appear in the underground ice cave. With a light step, he appeared in the outside world. The wind and snow filled the air. He wore a white robe and had a head of white hair. There was no aura about him at all, and he gave off an ordinary feeling. However, when everyone met his eyes, they were shocked. It was as if they had been stabbed by a sharp and peerless sword, and a layer of goosebumps appeared on their bodies. What kind of eyes were those? They were as clear as water and as calm as a mirror, but there seemed to be all sorts of phenomena in the world surging within them. The sun, moon, and stars floated within them, flickering indefinitely. At this instant, everyone had the feeling that even if they had the advantage in numbers, they felt as if they were the only one left when facing this white-haired and white-robed man, and they felt indescribably oppressive and perturbed. Mi Wuya. Zhu Feiyu softly uttered a name. These 3 words seemed to have a strange magical power, causing everyone to hold their breaths and their expressions to change. It was him, the legend who had dominated the first place on the All Heavens King Saint board for 600 years, a peerless expert who was the focus of attention in all heavens. He was also regarded as truly invincible among the Peak King Saint realm. This was because he had never been defeated since he rose to the first place on the All Heavens King Saint board, and no one had been able to shake his position. Everyone felt bitter in their hearts. No matter how they racked their brains, they would never have thought that the operation to capture Jin Di would uncover such a terrifying existence. We were a little rash earlier. Please don't blame us, brother Mi. We will leave immediately. After taking a deep breath, Tu Qianjue cupped his hands and bowed. Even though he was also in the top 10 of the All Heavens King Saint board, there was still a large gap between him and a legendary figure like Mi Wuya. He had no choice but to bow his head. With that, he was about to leave with everyone. However, Mi Wuya said calmly, "You're leaving just like that after disturbing my peaceful cultivation? Hand over your life talismans and I'll let you go." It was a very calm sentence, but it shocked Tu Qianjue and the others, causing them to stop in their tracks. "Hand over your life talismans," Zhu Feiyu said through gritted teeth. He knew very well that Mi Wuya's rumored state of mind was like water and his temperament was like iron. He never went back on his word, so he would do as he said. Otherwise, Mi Wuya would use his actions to prove the price of disobedience. As he spoke, Zhu Feiyu was the first to hand over his life talismans. Tu Qianjue and Yen Yuro followed suit. When the others saw this, They were shocked by Mi Wuya's power and obediently handed over their life talismans. After doing all this, everyone had the same feeling in their hearts. If Mi Wuya had not gone into hiding since the beginning of this discussion, how many experts in the heaven-earth mystery realm would have been eliminated by him? If he had the intention to fight for the life talismans, who could have protected them? However, Mi Wuya did not even look at the life talismans. Instead, he said, "One last question. Who is that Jin Di?" Zhu Feiyu was taken aback. He immediately said, "He comes from the cloud state and his combat strength is unfathomable. He's like a monster that cannot be described with common sense." He praised Lin Sun generously in one breath. Tu Qianjue and the others quickly realized that Zhu Feiyu was obviously doing this to pique Mi Wuya's interest so that he might attack Jin Di. Thinking about it, if someone like Mi Wuya were to take action, wouldn't Jin Di be finished? Mi Wuya listened quietly and looked at Zhu Feiyu. Really? Zhu Feiyu felt inexplicably nervous, but he still braced himself and said, "Absolutely." Mi Wuya nodded. If that's the case, Jin Di is indeed a character. However, don't think that I can't see through your intentions. You're just trying to use me to deal with Jin Di. Zhu Feiyu's expression stiffened. He was just about to explain when Mi Wuya continued, "If that person has the chance to enter the forbidden ancient immortal zone, I might try to test his abilities. You may leave. This will not happen again." Mi Wuya disappeared into thin air after he spoke. Zhu Feiyu, Tu Qianjue, and the others looked at each other before they turned around and left without hesitation. They only heaved a long sigh of relief when they left the world of ice and snow. Mi Wuya is becoming more and more terrifying. When I face him, I feel like I'm looking up at a towering mountain. Zhu Feiyu had a complicated expression on his face. It's said that he already possessed the ability to become a Jushi quasi-emperor several hundred years ago. The reason why he's been suppressing his cultivation level is because he's waiting for an opportunity. Yen Yuro murmured softly. Zhu Feiyu was not the only one. She also felt an unprecedented sense of nervousness when facing Mi Wuya. It's a pity that Mi Wuya isn't interested in Jin Di, Tu Qianjue sighed softly. Let's go. If Mi Wuya doesn't make a move, won't we be able to kill him with so many of us? Zhu Feiyu took a deep breath and strode forward. The others hurriedly followed. At the same time, the martial emperors who witnessed everything on the bound of universe main peak in the outside world also had strange expressions on their faces. Fellow Taoist Yunyan, Mi Wuya is an heir of your Panwu Dao court. Exactly what level has he attained on his path towards the Dao? Someone asked. All eyes turned to Panwu Dao court's Emperor Yunyan for a moment. Great Emperor Cloudy Rock smiled with a hint of pride from the bottom of his heart. In my opinion, Mi Wuya is the best among his peers in the peerless Saint King realm. He is unparalleled. Best among his peers. Unparalleled. Those few words clearly showed that Mi Wuya was the best Jushi stage person in the history of the Jushi stage. This caused many martial emperors' hearts to churn. There were also some who did not agree with this but could not refute it either. This was because Mi Wuya had dominated the All Heavens King Sage ranking for 600 years and was truly invincible. You're wrong. Xia Xinglie suddenly sneered. Yunyan, don't flatter your own successor. Let's not talk about the current era. Let's talk about the past. There was an unparalleled person who was regarded as unparalleled in the saint stage in all heavens. Compared to him, Mi Wuya is still a little lacking. As soon as he said that, many of the Emperor Realm cultivators' expressions became unnatural again. Unparalleled in the saint stage in all heavens. Only one person had such a title in the past. However, that person came from Fangtsuan Mountain, and Fangtsuan Mountain was a faction that most of the emperors present were unwilling to mention. Emperor Yunyan felt a little uncomfortable and could not help saying, Xia Xinglie, don't you think it's too much to compare Mi Wuya with a vile spawn who died in ancient times? Xia Xinglia laughed and drank to his heart's content. He slapped his thigh and said, "Who can be called unparalleled in the saint stage? Who dares to say they can't be defeated? Only Fangtsuan Mountain Xian Kong knows about this. Who hasn't heard of this saying on the starry ancient path?" Chapter 2041. Xian Kong. The name stirred subtle emotions in the hearts of all the great emperors present. In primordial times, some of them had never become emperors, speaking of which, they were of the same generation as Xian Kong. But in that era, their brilliance had been completely overshadowed by the same person, the 49th successor of Mount Innerheart, Xian Kong. Xian Kong. Sigh. Tai Shu Hong suddenly let out a long sigh. During the Emperor Dao battle back then, the Heaven Yellow Dao court had remained neutral and stayed out of it. However, Tai Shu Hong also felt that it was a pity for Xian Kong's death. Back then, an old monster from the Heaven Yellow Dao court who specialized in compiling the All Heavens Sage Monarch ranking had commented that if Xian Kong had become an emperor, he would be one of the best in the emperor realm. Unfortunately, such a legend who had dominated the heavens for a period of time had perished in the Emperor Dao battle. What's there to pity? Everyone from Mount Innerheart should be killed. The fire spirit empress's brows were filled with coldness. Let's not talk about the past. Even though Xian Kong has perished, he was once an existence that we could only look up to. Mi Wuya is also extraordinary. Compared to Xian Kong, he only lacks an opportunity to prove to the world that he is truly invincible. Tai Shu Hong pondered deeply and said, "The Dao discussion this time is such an opportunity for Mi Wuya. Everyone, just wait and see." Time passed. Amidst the tragic and cruel Dao discussion, half a month had passed in the Heaven Yellow Mystic realm. In that half a month there were all sorts of killings and fierce battles happening almost every day. Be it for life talismans or survival, every cultivator fought with all their might. By now, more than half of the 1,849 people who participated in the Dao discussion had been eliminated, leaving just over 600 experts. Among them, the experts from the various prefectures had suffered the most losses. They made up the majority of the eliminated experts. Many monstrous figures from other worlds in the universe had also suffered losses, but at the same time, a group of extremely dazzling and ruthless figures had emerged. For example, Jing Tianan from one of the 9 major stellar regions, the Scenic Glaze stellar region. His sword Dao was omnipotent and invincible. For example, Wen Yu, who came from the White 2 stellar domain, wielded a Dao domain, galactic flow. Even some of the famous figures ranked on the Sage King roll of the heavens had been suppressed by him. Monstrous geniuses like Jing Tianan and Wen Yu's battle prowess could be said to be world-shocking. Even the monarch realm experts in the outside world kept glancing at them. Comparatively speaking, the experts from the 6 Dao courts, the 10 war clans, and the other Daoist prefectures of the Central Earth suffered the least. Moreover, half of the injured experts were eliminated by Lin Sun. This fact also made Lin Sun's name, Jin Di, more and more eye-catching. At the same time, Zhu Feiyu, Tu Qianjue, and Kong Zhao hated Lin Sun even more because most of the experts who were injured by Lin Sun were from the forces behind them. Therefore, even though half a month had passed, the search for Lin Sun was still going on vigorously. Lin Sun, who was meditating in the underground cave, was alarmed by a wave of obscure Taoist forbidden formation. "Xian Yu, we should change places," Lin Sun said as he stood up. During this period of time, he and Jintian Xianwei would hide in a different place every 1 or 2 days. Every time they hid, Lin Sun would set up many Taoist forbidden formations. Some were set up in front of the cave to conceal their auras, and some were set up in different directions thousands of feet away from the cave to serve as early warning. Just like now, the obscure wave that alarmed Lin Sun came from a Taoist forbidden formation thousands of feet away. It seemed that there were experts approaching this area. With such a tight defensive formation protecting them, Lin Sun and Jin Tian Xianyue did not encounter any danger in these days. Okay. Jin Tian Xianyue nodded. Her injuries had completely healed, and she had regained her former vigor. Her beauty was peerless, and her charm was like that of an immortal. After walking out of the cave, Lin Sun casually put away the formation he had set up. Just as he was about to leave quietly with Jin Tian Xianyue, he was suddenly startled. In the next moment, he smiled and said, "What a coincidence! It's not enemies this time, but some acquaintances. Come, let's go and meet them." Acquaintances? Jin Tian Xianyue thought as she followed them. On a barren field, when they sensed the power of the activated Taoist forbidden formation, Lu Dubu and the others were nervous and avoided it. After observing for a while and seeing that there was no danger, Lu Dubu said, "I see. This is a defensive formation. Once it is touched, it will be detected by the experts lurking in this area. Those who like to lurk are usually the most cautious. However, we can't barge in rashly." Xie Yuhua said quickly, "Next, we can only change our direction." Damn it. Wang Tu's childish face revealed a ruthless look. Now, the situation in the Xianhuang mystery realm is getting worse and more dangerous. The most hateful thing is that because Jin Di is being hunted, there is no safe place to hide in the Xianhuang mystery realm. The more he said, the angrier he became. Recently, no matter where they went, they would be watched. No matter where they hid, they would be discovered very quickly. There were a few times when they were almost eliminated. It's not that our luck is bad, and it's not Jin Di's fault. Many experts have been eliminated in the Xianhuang mystery realm. Those who are able to survive are stronger than the other. Compared to them, we are much inferior. Xie Yuhua could not help but say, "In Yunzhou, we can hold our heads high and be arrogant among our peers. But in the Xianhuang mystery realm, we are just prey in the eyes of others." There was a hint of bitterness in his voice. These days, if they had not been working together, they would have been eliminated long ago. But everyone knew that as time passed, people like them could be in danger of being eliminated at any time. How is it not Jin Di's fault? Wang Tu said unhappily. When the others knew that we were from Yunzhou, they did not dare to work together with us. They were afraid that they would be misunderstood by the descendants of Qian Kuan, demons, and untainted land. Moreover, some people even said that they would capture us to force Jin Di to show himself. How can it not be Jin Di's fault? In my opinion, the reason why we have fallen into such a predicament now is mostly because of Jin Di. Xie Yuhua frowned. How can you push the blame to others when you are so weak? Enough. Lu Dubu interrupted. Don't talk about this anymore. The most important thing now is to find a place to hide and let Su Muhan heal. Next to them, Su Muhan, who had been silent, looked pale. He had been seriously injured in a battle before, and had not recovered until now. Wang Tu and Xie Yuhua immediately shut up. However, just as they were about to change direction and leave this area, two familiar figures floated over from afar. Lu Dubu and others were stunned. "Brother Jin, Miss Xianyue? Why are you here?" Lu Dubu blurted out. He was so surprised that he never expected to meet Lin Sun and Jin Tian Xianyue here. The others were also stunned. Wang Tu's expression was slightly stiff, but his eyes did not hide his resistance and rejection. Su Muhan's lips twitched and he sighed inwardly. What a coincidence! He did not know whether their conversation had been heard by Jin Di. Xie Yuhua's expression was complicated. In half a month, the man in front of them had become one of the most popular figures in Xianhuang's secret realm. Even if he had become the target of public criticism and the situation was not optimistic, it still could not change the fact that he was powerful. "I didn't expect to see you here." Lin Sun glanced at the crowd and said with a smile, "By the way, didn't Ling Xiujia act with you? Where is he?" "Brother Jin, you didn't see him?" Xie Yuhua couldn't help asking. Lin Sun was stunned. "What do you mean?" Xie Yuhua whispered, We heard that you were in a bad situation. As early as 5 days ago, Leng Xiujia left alone, saying that he was going to find you. Her voice was a little unnatural. Jin Tianxianyue keenly noticed something and suddenly said, "But why did he leave alone? Could it be that Leng Xiujia acted alone because you didn't intend to help me and brother Jin?" Xie Yuhua felt bitter in her heart. Wang Tu said coldly, "Miss Xianyue, it's our duty to help others. At that time, we couldn't even take care of ourselves. How could we help you?" After a pause, he continued, "Besides, the trouble was caused by Jin Di himself. But now, even we have been implicated by him." His voice was full of resentment. For a moment, the atmosphere became oppressive and subtle. Lin Sun saw all this and heard it in his heart. Looking at the expressions of Lu Dubu and others, he already knew what was going on. Jin Tianxianyue felt very uncomfortable and said in a cold voice, "Brother Jin regarded us as his own people, so he helped Ting Yichen and Mount Returning when they were in trouble. Wang Tu, even if you don't help because you are worried about getting into trouble, you don't have to make sarcastic remarks. It should have been a happy thing for acquaintances to meet, but the scene in front of her made Jin Tianxianyue feel disgusted. They could understand each other if they didn't want to help, but it was too much to push all the blame to Lin Sun. Well, don't quarrel." Lu Dubu dissuaded with a bitter smile. "Brother Jin, we didn't take action to help you before because we were in a worrying situation. It's not that we were unwilling, but that we couldn't. I hope you can understand." Lin Sun smiled and nodded. "I understand." After all, there was no deep relationship between him and Lu Dubu and others. They were just from the same camp in Yunzhou. Whether to help or not, it was all up to them. "Brother Lu, let's leave quickly, so as not to be misunderstood and implicated again," Wang Tu said impatiently. Chapter 2042. Hearing Wang Tu's words, Jin Tianxianyue's eyes flashed coldly. She was about to say something, but was stopped by Lin Sun. "Let's go." Lin Sun turned around and left. When Jin Tianxianyue saw this, he glanced at Wang Tu, Lu Dubu, and the others and said, "From today onwards, we have nothing to do with each other. You guys go your own way and we'll go ours." Then, she turned around and caught up with Lin Sun. Lu Dubu wanted to say something but stopped. In the end, he let out a long sigh, feeling a little upset. A battle of the Tao had caused the relationship between them to break apart. This made Lu Dubu somewhat suspicious. Was it really too heartless for them to do this? Wang Tu sneered. "What do you mean by no relationship? We didn't have any relationship before. You are flattering yourself." Xie Yuhua looked gloomy and inexplicable anger rose in her heart. She said, "Wang Tu, you have resentment in your heart, but don't represent us." Lu Dubu and Su Muhan hurriedly tried to persuade her. Leng Xiujia had already left, and they had cut off their relationship with Jin Di and Jin Tianxianyue. At this time, they could not have any internal conflict. A short while later, the group of them finally left. Wang Tu's face is so hateful. After catching up with Lin Sun, Jin Tianxianyue couldn't help saying, not hiding her disgust. Lin Sun said casually, "It's nothing more than self-protection. It's understandable." "Child, you're not angry?" Jin Tianxianyue was stunned. Lin Sun couldn't help laughing. "Him? That's not worthy of my anger. I've encountered similar treatment since a long time ago. They either viewed me as a dreadful beast or viewed me as a calamity, and they were deeply afraid of being unable to avoid me and being implicated. What's more, I don't want anyone to help me. I don't have any relationship with Wang Tuesday." Speaking of this, Lin Sun suddenly thought of something. "Xianyue, we have to go find them." "Why?" "Leng Xiujia similarly doesn't have much of a relationship with me, but he actually took the initiative to help me. This is a great favor, and Lu Dubu should have a way to contact Leng Xiujia. I want to go find Leng Xiujia," Lin Sun said and turned around to go back. "Okay." Jin Tianxianyue agreed readily. Brother Su, let's rest here. In front of an inconspicuous low mountain range, Lu Dubu looked around and revealed a satisfied expression. All right. Su Muhan agreed. He was seriously injured and needed to recuperate in time. Xie Yuhua and Wang Tu naturally had no objections. However, right when they intended to dig open an abode and rest, a wave of the sound of the air being torn apart suddenly sounded out from afar. So. The dense expanse of cultivators were like numerous dazzling flowing lights that whistled over from afar, and their impetus was vast and mighty. Leading them was Tu Qianjue of the Heaven and Earth Dao Court, Zhu Feiyu of the Demon Dao Court, and Yen Yurosha of the Black-Yellow Dao Court. Behind them were a group of experts. Not good. Lu Dubu and the others stiffened, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. Who would have thought that in this desolate wilderness, they would actually encounter such a luxurious team of experts? Run! They left without hesitation. However, they were surrounded halfway through their journey. The difference in their strength was too great, and their opponents were all core heirs of powerful forces like the 6 major Dao courts. Not to mention the others, just Zhu Feiyu, Tu Qianjue, and Yen Yuro were enough to make them feel despair. It's over. Lu Dubu and the others all had the same thought, and their expressions turned gloomy. It's all that Jean Di's fault. It's all that Jean Di's fault. We only met him once, and we're about to be eliminated. This guy is a complete malefic. At this moment, Wang Tu could not help but shout hoarsely. He was filled with unwillingness and resentment. Zhu Feiyu originally did not take Lu Dubu and the others seriously. He only thought that they were some prey that he had encountered along the way. He planned to attack and eliminate Lu Dubu and the others. However, when he heard Wang Tu's words, he immediately revealed a strange expression and waved his hand. Don't attack first. The experts surrounding Lu Dubu all stopped what they were doing. You said that you saw Jean Di just now? Zhu Feiyu's eyes were like lightning as he locked onto Wang Tuesday Yen Yuro, Tu Qianjue, and the others also became spirited. They had been searching for Lin Sun's whereabouts in the Heaven and Earth Mystery Realm for the past few days. They had even provoked the terrifying Mi Wuya during the search. Even now, they still felt a lingering fear when they thought about it. Even so, they had not been able to find Lin Sun until now. This caused them to have a belly full of anger that they had nowhere to vent. Right now, Wang Tu's resentful words made them realize that their opportunity had come. Lu Dubu's expression changed, and he hurriedly shook his head. No. Swoosh. Zhu Feiyu's gaze was as sharp as a blade. He glanced at Lu Dubu and said coldly, If you dare to speak out of turn, don't blame me for sending you on your way first. Lu Dubu's expression was uncertain, and his heart was filled with indescribable frustration. In the Cloud Prefecture, he was one of the most dazzling young experts. However, in front of Zhu Feiyu, who was ranked in the top 10 of the All Heavens King Sage Board, he was completely insignificant. I recognize them. They are the same as Jean Di. They are experts from the Cloud Prefecture. Someone suddenly spoke up and revealed the identity of Lu Dubu and the others. Lu Dubu and the others' expressions changed again. Zhu Feiyu, Yen Yuro, and Tu Qianjue looked at each other with joy. Tell me where Jean Di is. Not only will I let you leave, but I will also not snatch your life talismans. Otherwise, you know the consequences, Zhu Feiyu said in a low voice. His clothes were unbuttoned and his long hair was loose. He carried a long sword on his back, and he looked very wild. You tell me. Zhu Feiyu stared at Wang Tuesday. Wang Tu took a deep breath and said, Are you really going to let us go? Wang Tu, you must not say anything. Su Muhan shouted. Everything that happens in the Heaven and Earth Mystery Realm is seen by the martial emperors in the outside world. If you betray Brother Jean, even if you are lucky enough to escape, you are destined to lose your reputation in front of the world. Boom! Suddenly, Tu Qianjue made a move and pressed his palm across the air. Su Muhan was already injured, so he was directly suppressed by the palm. His body smashed to the ground, and blood spurted from his mouth and nose. His face became pale and transparent. "You're courting death." Tu Qianjue spat out these words softly. Lu Dubu and Xie Yuhua could not help but feel anxious and desperate, but they looked at Wang Tu to stop him with their eyes. However, Wang Tu turned a deaf ear to them. He gritted his teeth and said, "Jin Di has repeatedly implicated us. Even if you didn't ask, I would have told you his whereabouts." Zhu Feiyu smiled and said, "A wise man submits to circumstances. You are a smart man. Tell us quickly." Tu Qianjue could not help but urge him. 10 minutes ago, we met him in a wasteland 100 miles away. When he left in the southwest direction with that bitch Jintian Xianyue. If you go all out to chase after him now, you can definitely catch up with him." Wang Tu betrayed Lin Sun without hesitation. Hearing this, Lu Dubu and Xie Yuhua sighed in their hearts. Their hands and feet were cold. Wang Tu's actions made them feel bitterly disappointed. Su Muhan, who was suppressed on the ground, was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. In his opinion, even if he had to part ways with Lin Sun, he would not do such a despicable and shameless thing. This was a betrayal. In order to survive in the Xianwang secret realm, he would even throw away his dignity and shame? Good. Zhu Feiyu looked up to the sky and laughed. "You're a straightforward man. You can leave now." Wang Tu also laughed. Then, he was startled and asked, "What about my friends? Them?" Tu Qianjue, who was next to him, showed a cold look. "Since they don't cooperate, we can only send them on their way." Wang Tu said angrily, "Didn't you say that you would let all of us go? Why, you don't want to leave?" Tu Qianjue said impatiently. Wang Tu's face turned green and white. He was struggling in his heart. Of course, he wanted to leave. Otherwise, he would not be so cooperative. However, he knew that even if he left safely, he would be eliminated soon. The reason was simple. He was alone and did not have the qualifications to fight against the other experts. "Get lost!" Tu Qianjue shouted. Everyone, Wang Tu did not dare to look at Lu Dubu and the others. "Just leave. We're really blind to have allied with someone like you." Lu Dubu's face was livid. "Xie Yuhua ignored Wang Tuesday, he told you to get lost. Why aren't you getting lost?" Su Muhan, who was on the ground, shouted. "Humph." Wang Tu clenched his teeth and turned to leave. "Brother Tu, you take care of the aftermath. I'll lead the others to chase after Jin Di." As Zhu Feiyu spoke, he led Yen Yuro and the other experts and teleported into the distance. Only Tu Qianjue and the 6 Qiankuan Dao court successors were left. "Everyone, don't be so polite. This is a Dao sparring competition. Eliminating one more opponent means that we have more hope of success." Tu Qianjue's expression was cold. He waved his hand and said, "Send them on their way." The 6 core successors of the Qiankuan Dao court beside him all moved forward from different directions. Their bodies were surrounded by killing intent. Wang Tu, who had already left, stood far away and looked at this area. A sinister expression appeared on his childlike face. "You're still thinking about Jin Di at a time like this. You deserve to be eliminated." But at this moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. On the battlefield, in front of Lu Dubu, Xie Yuhua, and Su Muhan who were surrounded, there was suddenly a sharp light. It was a broken blade, flowing with an obscure light of the Tao. Its sharpness was restrained, and as it gently swept across the air, as it lightly swept across, a huge circular crack appeared in the nearby void. The 6 successors of the Qiankuan Dao court, who were extremely powerful and terrifying, were sent flying by this sweep of the broken blade. Rumble, that area rumbled and shook. Divine radiance burst forth, and a series of angry cries rang out. And in the vision of Tu Qianjue, Wang Tu, Lu Dubu, and the others who were scattered in different positions, a tall figure had appeared at some point in time. Chapter 2043. The figure that appeared in the field was Lin Sun. Originally, he came back to find Lu Dubu to get in touch with Leng Xiujia, but he unexpectedly found such a scene. Jin Dui. Tu Qianjue's pupils constricted, and he cried out in surprise. Just now, Zhu Feiyu and Yan Yuro left with a group of strong practitioners to hunt down Jin Di. Who would have thought that he would appear here? Brother Jin, Lu Dubu and Xie Yuhua also showed disbelief. They thought that they could not escape this time and were about to be eliminated. They also did not expect that at this critical moment, Lin Sun, who had separated from them and drawn a clear line with them, would come to their rescue in time. It was too unexpected. It also made them excited, and they could not help but feel a strong sense of guilt. A few days ago, when they heard that Lin Sun had become the target of public criticism and was being hunted by various forces, they did not go to help Lin Sun with Leng Xiujia in order to protect themselves. Even before that, they were worried that they would be implicated by Lin Sun and left in a hurry. But at this time, Lin Sun appeared in time to help them solve the problem, as if he did not care about the past. How could they not feel guilty? Brother Jin, we have let you down in the past. We appreciate your kindness today. Please leave quickly and don't worry about us anymore. The seriously injured Su Muhan climbed up from the ground and shouted, "Go, or it will be too late." "Go? Impossible." Tu Qianjue let out a long roar. "Brother Zhu Misyan, please return quickly. Jin Di has appeared." The sound waves, like the sound of Tao, surged through the sky and spread far away. "You can't fight alone, and you can't fight as a group." Lin Sun's black eyes were deep. As he spoke, his figure flashed and he attacked brazenly. Moreover, he did not hold back at all. As soon as he attacked, he used his true power. In an instant, he seemed to have become another person, with peerless sharpness, peerless elegance, and peerless power. Whoosh! His bright platinum Taoist body released great light, and his speed was so fast that it was like a flickering light and passing shadow. As he pointed with his finger, puff! One of the core successors of the Universe Taoist court, who was closest to Lin Sun, had blood dripping from between his eyebrows. His bones had been pierced through. Just as he was about to die, a teleportation force appeared and brought him out of the mysterious yellow mystery realm. Lin Sun didn't even look at it. With a wave of his sleeve, dense Taishan sword chi roared out and swept towards another opponent. That person fought with all his strength, circulating his own strength to the limit. His body was covered in divine radiance and interweaved with the light of the Tao, condensing 18 layers of battle imprints. Every single battle seal possessed an unfathomable might, and when 18 of them were stacked together, it was as if they could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. As they stacked together, their might also multiplied. 18 universe battle seals. It was one of the supreme inheritances of the Qiankuan Tao court and was incomparably ferocious. However, such a supreme inheritance was nothing in front of Lin Sun's Taishan sword chi. In a twinkling of an eye, the battle seals were broken by the mighty and dense sword chi one by one. The roar shook the sky and splashed a dazzling rain all over the sky. Rumble, that person's figure was covered by the ocean-like sword chi and was eliminated. In the blink of an eye, 2 successors of the Universe Taoist court were defeated one after another. As soon as the battle began, Lin Sun showed an absolutely crushing and invincible demeanor, which made Lu Dubu and others widen their eyes and almost couldn't believe it. They had all seen Lin Sun's elegant demeanor in the Tao discussion in Yunzhou, but at that time, he couldn't be compared with this time at all. Too strong. Lu Dubu and others' understanding of Lin Sun was completely subverted, as if they saw a complete stranger. "Let's attack together, we must hold on. Our reinforcements will arrive soon." Tu Qianjue shouted. He didn't hesitate to attack with all his strength. As a strong man who had already experienced Lin Sun's combat strength, he also knew how terrible Lin Sun was. It should be known that when he led a group of people, they were seriously injured by Lin Sun's formation. In the end, even if he joined forces with Zhu Feiyu and Yen Yuro, they couldn't stop Lin Sun. Instead, Lin Sun easily broke through the siege. Kill! 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 The remaining 4 successors of Qiankuan Taoist court and 2 Qianjue attacked Lin Sun with all their strength. They either activated their secret methods or took out their treasures. For a moment, the area was filled with treasure light, the sound of Tao rumbled, and the world dimmed. Miss Xie, let's go together and help Brother Jean kill the enemy. Lu Dubu gritted his teeth and looked resolute. His heart was filled with guilt and gratitude, and he was eager to remedy the situation. Okay. Xie Yuhua agreed without hesitation. But before the 2 of them could attack, they were stopped by a graceful white figure. It was Golden Sky Moon. Her clothes were whiter than snow, and she was extremely beautiful and cold. She said, "You can just watch the battle. Brother Jean told me to be responsible for your safety." All of a sudden, Lu Dubu and Xie Yuhua were in a complicated mood. Back in the Tao discussion in Yunzhou, they could still stand shoulder to shoulder with Lin Sun, but now they couldn't help him at all in the field. The battle was fierce. The mountains and rivers shook, and the grass and trees turned into powder. It was chaos and turbulence. Seeing this scene from afar, Wang Tu's expression was ferocious, and he shouted in his heart, "Defeat him! Defeat him! He must be eliminated." Lin Sun's appearance caused Wang Tu's state of mind to become distorted. Previously, in order to survive, he didn't hesitate to betray Lin Sun in exchange for an opportunity, and in the end, he ignored Lu Dubu, Su Muhan, and Xie Yuhua and fled alone. But at this time, Lin Sun stood up and saved Lu Dubu and the others. When the 2 of them were compared, it made him, Wang Tu, seem extremely weak, and it caused a strand of indescribable and dense resentment to surge out from his heart. Boom! Suddenly, there was an earth-shaking roar in the field. Then, 2 Qianjue and the others who had originally surrounded Lin Sun were all shaken away. They staggered and cried out in alarm. In the field, Lin Sun's body was dazzling and peerless. Every move he made was filled with a great power that could destroy all obstacles. Everyone besieged him, but they couldn't suppress him. Instead, the besieged situation was broken by him in one fell swoop. Then, as Lin Sun's figure advanced, one opponent after another was suppressed on the spot like a piece of paper. They screamed and were eliminated. Only 2 Qianjue was left struggling in the field. This scene made Wang Tu's eyes bulge. He clenched his fists and murmured, "How is this possible? How can this guy be so powerful?" It should be known that those were the core successors of the Universe Taoism court, and there was no lack of famous figures on the King Sage list. But in front of Lin Sun, they were like clay chickens and pottery dogs. Not only Wang Tu, Lu Dubu, Xie Yuhua, and Su Muhan couldn't help but gasp. Was this his true power? At this time, 2 Qianjue was struggling. Some time ago, he was trapped in the formation and seriously injured by Lin Sun. If it wasn't for Yen Yu and Zhu Feiyu's timely rescue, he would have been eliminated. And now, the same scene was playing out again. Damn it! Why aren't Zhu Feiyu and the others here yet? 2 Qianjue was anxious and his eyes almost popped out of their socket. He was completely suppressed by Lin Sun alone. No matter what kind of magic he used or what kind of treasures he used, they were all broken by Lin Sun in an absolutely crushing manner, causing him to be overwhelmed. Not long after, he coughed up blood repeatedly and was seriously injured. Lu Dubu and the others felt that it was inconceivable to see him in such a miserable state. He was a ruthless figure ranked in the top 10 of the King Sage list. But he looked miserable as if he was completely ravaged by Brother Jean. Stop! Suddenly, a thunderous roar rang out in the distance. A group of figures turned into divine rainbows and teleported over with great momentum. They were led by Zhu Feiyu and Yen Yu. When they saw that only 2 Qianjue was struggling and seriously injured, Zhu Feiyu and the others revealed looks of disbelief. They had only left for a short while, And such a tragic scene had already happened? The expressions of Lu Dubu and the others changed. Zhu Feiyu and the others had arrived, and there were more than 20 extremely powerful and ruthless figures. The situation had already become serious. Just continue to watch the battle. At this time, Jintian Xianyue still appeared very calm and unperturbed. Whether it was fleeing or fighting, he had absolute confidence in Lin Sun. In the distance, Wang Tu could not help but grin. The resentment in his heart was brewing like a raging river. Jindi, let's see how you are going to put on a brave front next. Brother Zhu Missien, come and help me. Tu Qianjue, who had begun to feel despair, was now wild with joy, like a drowning man who had grasped the hope of survival. At this moment, Lin Sun suddenly smiled and said, "Do you know why I kept you alive until now?" "Kept me alive until now?" Tu Qianjue felt it was incredible. Could it be boom? At this moment, Lin Sun stabbed out with his fingers. The sting of sharpness. It was incredibly fast and fierce to an unprecedented extent. It was just a ray of light condensed at the tip of his finger, but it illuminated the mountains and rivers. The Taoist magic that Tu Qianjue used and the defensive power on his body were all shattered by this stab. The sting of sharpness pierced into Tu Qianjue's chest like a stunning ray of light. However, before the sting of sharpness pierced through Tu Qianjue's heart and crushed his divine soul, he disappeared into thin air. He was eliminated. A core descendant of the Universe Taoist Court, ranked 9th on the All Heavens King Sage list, was eliminated just like that. This also meant that a peerless figure like him was no longer qualified to participate in the ancient immortal forbidden area, even if he was still alive. When they saw this scene, Zhu Feiyu and Yen Yuro, who had rushed over to help, were stunned. Their pupils dilated, and indescribable anger and coldness surged in their hearts. They were angry that Lin Sun suppressed Tu Qianjue in front of them, and they did not have time to help him. They were disappointed that such a powerful peerless figure like Tu Qianjue was eliminated just like that. One should know that Tu Qianjue's combat strength was not much worse than Zhu Feiyu's and Yen Yuro's. At this moment, Jintian, Xianyue, Lu Dubu, and the others could not help but be shocked. Tu Qianjue. He was definitely a giant figure in the Xianwang mystery realm. If nothing went wrong, he would undoubtedly stand out in this Taoist discussion and win the qualification to participate in the ancient immortal forbidden area. Chapter 2044. Some of the chapter titles were wrong, but they have been corrected. Bang! When the outside world witnessed the scene of Tu Qianjue being eliminated by Lin Sun, the table in front of the Fire Spirit Empress exploded together with the wine and delicacies on it, turning into powder. There was a touch of coldness between her eyebrows, as if she was suppressing the anger in her heart. She said, "Jin Dui, I underestimated his ability." The nearby Emperor Realm experts looked at each other and didn't say anything. Normally speaking, an extraordinary figure like Tu Qianjue practically didn't have to worry about the risk of being eliminated in this Tao discussion. First, he was strong enough. Second, he had the Heaven and Earth Taoist court behind him. Even in the black-yellow secret realm, he had many helpers. This made the possibility of him being defeated almost negligible. But no one would have thought that an accident would happen. Jin Dui, who came from Yunzhou, would be so powerful that it was a complete mess. Tu Qianjue couldn't fight one-on-one. Tu Qianjue and the others were also defeated. The most important thing was that Jin Dui didn't care about the Heaven and Earth Taoist court at all. He didn't show any mercy, which led to Tu Qianjue's elimination. But obviously, the Fire Spirit Empress couldn't accept all this. Haha, now you finally admit that you underestimated Jin Dui? Xia Xinglia laughed. Yes, it's great to know your mistakes and change. Everyone had a strange expression. The Fire Spirit Empress was so angry that she almost vomited blood. She gritted her teeth and stared at Xia Xinglia. When she was about to say something, she was persuaded by the Burning Sky Demon Emperor of the Demon Court. Don't be angry, fellow. Look, Jin Dui is doomed. This time, he won't be able to use any more Dao markings or restrictive formations. Humph! The Fire Spirit Empress said coldly. If it weren't for the fact that the descendants of the demon court couldn't help in time, how could this happen? She also knew that it was useless to say this now, but she was a little unhappy in her heart. Seeing that the Burning Sky Demon Emperor was a little unhappy, she sighed and said, "Forget it, let's just watch the battle." Not only her, but almost all the other Emperor Realm experts' eyes fell on Lin Sun in the Black-Yellow Secret Realm. This was the confrontation with an extremely great disparity in strength since the beginning of the Dao discussion. On one side was the camp led by Jin Dui, but apart from his outstanding combat power, among the others, only Jin Tianxianyue had some foundation. The others could be completely ignored. On one side were peerless figures led by Zhu Feiyu and Yen Yuro. There were more than 20 of them, and they were either core successors of the Qiankuan Dao court or core successors of the Demon court. With such a lineup, they could practically do whatever they wanted in the Xianwang mystery realm. Right now, a fight was about to break out between the two sides. How would Jin Dui, who had repeatedly exceeded everyone's expectations and subverted everyone's understanding, resolve the predicament in front of him? Everyone was curious. Kill this demon for me. Zhu Feiyu let out a thunderous roar. He was thoroughly enraged. He was deeply provoked by the scene of Tu Qianjue being eliminated. Kill. The successors of the Heaven and Earth Dao Court and the Devil Dao Court were also enraged. Their killing intent soared into the heavens as they surrounded and attacked. Rumble. Thunder rumbled and the sound of Taoism shook the heavens. All kinds of terrifying Taoism techniques poured out like a dense stream of water, surging in all directions and shattering the clouds. All kinds of treasures flashed with a destructive luster and whistled in the void, making the world dim and wail. This scene was too terrifying. More than 20 top saint kings in the world attacked together. If this happened in the outside world, the destructive power would absolutely be beyond imagination. All the emperors outside held their breath, thinking that the young people nowadays were more abnormal than the previous generation. Lu Dubu and the others felt a chill all over their bodies and their hair stood on end. Just looking at it from a distance made them tremble and feel a suffocating threat. It could be imagined how much pressure Jin Dui, who was trapped in a tight encirclement, was under. Kill him, ha ha ha, Wang Tu grinned. His childlike face was filled with ferocity and excitement. Even Jin Tianxuanyue's heart was suddenly in her throat. She was ready to help Lin Sun at any time. It was not that she had no confidence in Lin Sun, but such a siege battle was too shocking. Of course, Lin Sun would not sit still and wait for death. At the moment when the other side made a move, he also moved. His figure flickered like a ray of light, rushing up to meet the attack. Clang! The broken blade whistled out, making a passionate and clear sound, as if it was thirsting for blood. It cut out a stunning trajectory in the void. Boom! In Lin Sun's body, his spirit was boiling like a furnace, and all the power was released by him with extreme means. At this moment, he was like a dragon coming out of the abyss. A dense purple thunderstorm shrouded him, flashing with the shocking law of the Great Way. It actually evolved into a group of vivid purple Kylin with monstrous ferocity. An ice dragon appeared under Lin Sun's feet. It raised its head and swung its tail. With a bang, it defeated the group of purple Kylin and turned them into a rain of light. Clang! The broken blade and a golden spear collided. Sparks flew, and the golden spear buzzed and was fiercely chopped away. Countless Taishan sword chi emerged around Lin Sun and suddenly spread out. 10-directional sword rain. This was an exquisite attack inherited from the Taishan sword manual, and it was extremely suitable for group battles. Rumble, the fierce collisions were like countless volcanoes erupting at the same time. For a moment, the entire area seemed to be collapsing. The sky turned dark, and the sun and moon lost their light. There were also earth-shattering roars and cries that sounded like the roars of ancient gods and demons. It was enough to make people tremble in fear and despair. In just a moment, Lin Sun's offensive was suppressed, and he was surrounded. He was alone, and his opponents were more than 20. Among them, Zhu Feiyu and Yen Yuro were peerless figures ranked in the top 10 of the All Heavens King Sage list. Even though Lin Sun attacked with all his might, he still felt unprecedented pressure. This was also the first time he felt such a heavy threat since he had stepped into the peak of the late stage, Sage King stage. It should be known that back in the Xuanji Daoist sect, he could fight against 6 quasi-emperors with his bare hands. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the combat strength of the core successors of the 6 great Dao courts, Zhu Feiyu, Yen Yuro, and others was. It was no exaggeration to say that Zhu Feiyu and Yen Yuro already had the terrifying foundation to fight against quasi-emperors of a higher realm. However, the more pressure and threat he felt, the brighter and deeper Lin Sun's black eyes became. It was as if a great abyss that had been silent for countless years was gradually awakening. His heart was burning with fighting spirit. Kill! Everyone, go all out and kill this evil person! Zhu Feiyu's long hair was loose, and he slashed at the sky with his long sword. Sword chi crisscrossed, and it had the power to pierce through the sun and moon and split the sky and earth. Brother Jean, you can fight against so many of us by yourself. Even if you lose this battle, your prestige will not be tarnished. Yen Yuro sighed softly. She controlled the myriad of crystalline and translucent dark blue water droplets, and every single droplet transformed into a sharp blade that was like a thread and emanated an extremely fierce energy of slaughter. The rain blades could kill ghosts and gods. Prestige? If you are eliminated, you are destined to have no chance with the ancient immortal forbidden area. When that time comes, what's the use of some false prestige? Someone sneered. Jean Duyi, I advise you to surrender. Struggling is futile. Someone shouted. Other sarcastic voices rang out one after another. At present, they had surrounded Lin Sun and firmly suppressed him. They thought that victory was in their grasp and the outcome was certain, so they were all very happy. They had finally caught the first place in Yunzhou after searching for so many geniuses. Before this, each of them had been suppressing a ball of anger in their hearts. Now they finally had a chance to vent their anger. Miss Xianyue, Brother Jean can't hold on any longer. Let's do it quickly. Lu Dubu, Xieyuhua, and Su Muhan were extremely anxious. This time, Lin Sun had fallen into such a situation to save them. This made them no longer care about whether they would be eliminated or not. They just wanted to fight side by side with Lin Sun. Even if they lost, they would have no regrets. Jean Tianyue's cherry lips tightened, and her heart began to waver. She took a deep breath and was about to say something. Boom! A terrifying and boundless wave of power suddenly appeared on the battlefield, causing the world to tremble and the mountains to shake. A chaotic Tao field suddenly appeared on Lin Sun, who was besieged. It was obscure and indescribable. At the same time, Lin Sun's aura also changed. Previously, he was extremely sharp and domineering. But now, he was like a ruler from the primordial abyss. He had a domineering aura that could devour the heavens, devour the earth, and seize the creation of all things. This, not good, his aura has become terrifying again. How is this possible? Zhu Feiyu, Yen Yuro, and the others felt a chill in their hearts. They felt an indescribable sense of panic. The aura that Lin Sun released at that moment had a terrifying feeling that it was about to steal their minds and souls. In the outside world, the great figures in the Emperor realm also narrowed their eyes. What kind of Tao field was this? Unfortunately, they were watching from the outside world. They were unable to see through the mysteries and wonders within, and no one could recognize it. Rumble on the battlefield, the Tao field tumbled. It was as obscure as chaos, unfathomable and immeasurable. It seemed to be able to devour the heavens. Countless exclamations sounded because the attacks that were aimed at Lin Sun at this moment, whether they were mysterious Tao techniques or powerful treasures, were all crushed by a terrifying devouring power. The treasures of some powerhouses were almost out of control. This scene shocked Zhu Feiyu and the others. Is this Jean Di's true trump card this time? Lin Sun's eyes were cold and deep as he said indifferently, "Now, it's my turn to attack." When his voice rang out, the Tao domain behind him that seemed like chaos suddenly transformed into a deep and silent abyss. As his voice fell, the abyss moved horizontally, crushing the universe, shattering the earth, and releasing endless devouring power. The world was like a canvas, as if it was being torn and crushed by a big hand. Swish! Suddenly, a bright and sharp halberd rushed to Lin Sun, but it was crushed and broken in the middle. It exploded and turned into a rain of light, which was swallowed up by Lin. Everyone's expression changed again. Chapter 2045. As Lin Sun moved forward, the abyss roared and rotated, releasing an obscure aura that caused the sky to tremble and sway. At this moment, his momentum was too terrifying. "Quick, let's attack together," Zhu Feiyu shouted. He also felt his heart tremble and his scalp go numb. He couldn't believe that a person who was suppressed could still erupt with such terrifying power. Kill! 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 The successors of the Qiankuan Dao court and the Demon's Dao court had sensed that something was wrong and launched an all-out attack without hesitation. Swoosh! All kinds of Taoist laws swept out, condensed into Taoist seals intertwined with thunder and lightning, or evolved into divine birds and ancient beasts with monstrous power. Wind and clouds surged and turned into dazzling blades whistling. Water and fire surged, turning into a raging torrent that could overturn the heavens, and the Taoist laws mastered by the Supreme Saint King were all branded with the power of the Great Way. Every move of theirs could overturn mountains and seas with terrifying destructive power. All the experts present here were top figures in the peak Saint King realm, and every single one of them possessed outstanding attainments in the path of the Grand Tao. Moreover, the Tao arts they possessed were supreme inheritances of extraordinary quality. It was no exaggeration to say that any one of them could be the most respected in the same realm in other provinces. Now they attacked together with all their strength, so it was imaginable how terrifying the power produced was. Boom! The world was turbulent and chaotic. The scene was like the scene of the ancient war between gods and demons reappearing in the world. Sages recited sutras, Taoist sounds rumbled, Sanskrit sounds, and demonic sounds rang out continuously. All kinds of shocking phenomena were produced. The sun and the moon fell, mountains and rivers collapsed, the void was destroyed, and the universe was overturned. However, all of this was meaningless in Lin Sun's eyes. Boom! As he moved forward, the abyss blotted out the sky and the sun, and the obscure and mysterious power of the Great Way turned into an endless devouring and crushing force and spread out. The heaven-shaking phenomena were like fragile glass that collapsed amidst the deafening explosions. All kinds of mysterious and supreme Taoist laws were crushed, swallowed, and obliterated. The sages recited sutras, the gods and demons roared, all turned into cries of blood and laments. That scenes of the great annihilation played out within the spreading abyss. Unstoppable! This was an absolute suppression. Tao techniques were useless, and so were treasures. The ancient Tao sword, the peerlessly sharp saber, the unfathomable halberd, the battle spear, the treasure seal, the jade bottle, the talisman, the spiritual stove, all of them wailed and collapsed under the suppression of the great abyss. Rumble! Heaven and earth trembled as the abyss crushed everything in its path. Lin Sun, on the other hand, was like the ruler of the great abyss. He had a domineering attitude that could suppress all dharma and destroy all heavenly Tao. How is this possible? How can there be such a terrifying Tao domain in this world? Shouts of shock and anger rang out one after another. Zhu Feiyu and the others were shocked and in disbelief. A single person was able to defeat all of them? This was too inconceivable. It should be noted that Lin Sun was besieged and suppressed by them before and couldn't even raise his head. But when Lin Sun released his Dao domain, he instantly reversed the situation and turned the tables. He was in a terrible situation from before. Most terrifying of it all was that at this moment, he'd started to launch a formidable counterattack. This is the young master's true demeanor. Jintian Xuanyue's clear eyes sparkled with brilliance. Her heart that had been hanging in her throat finally calmed down. She was shocked. Lu Dubu and the others were dumbfounded. They were so shocked that their minds went blank. A single person had reversed the universe and suppressed all of them? This was like an incredible miracle that had happened at this moment. In the outside world, the emperors were silent and their emotions were in turmoil. They were amazed by Lin Sun's method of reversing the situation. But most importantly, with their experience and knowledge, they were actually unable to discern the profundity of Lin Sun's Dao domain. Bang! On the battlefield, someone couldn't dodge in time and was pulled by the power of the great abyss. His body seemed to be gripped by an invisible hand, and his muscles and bones exploded inch by inch. It was as if he was being crushed by a millstone and was about to explode. No, the person let out a scream of pain and terror. He struggled with all his might but to no avail. Just as he was about to be swallowed by the great abyss, a wave of teleportation appeared and brought him out of the black-yellow mystery realm. Following that, along with the roar of the great abyss, several experts in the nearby area were restrained again. They were like willow catkins falling into a huge millstone and were crushed. Whatever Taoist arts or defensive treasures they had were destroyed one by one. They couldn't resist at all and were eliminated in the blink of an eye. Lin Sun's expression was calm. An obscure aura surged around him and accompanied the great abyss as it moved forward. In the slaughterhouse, the terrifying aura seemed to be about to crush and devour this part of the universe. Almost no one knew how much effort and experience Lin Sun had put into his Dao domain. From the moment he entered the starry sky ancient path and stepped into the Saint King realm, he had already opened up the embryonic form of the Dao domain. And in order to pursue an extremely perfect and unprecedented Dao domain, he had deduced and pondered over it countless times over the years. On the boat, he studied the celestial herb scripture and comprehended the essence and mystery of the Tao nurtured by all things in the world. In the cloud state Tao discussion, he didn't care about ranking or winning. He observed and experienced the Tao domain of countless experts. Every single time he comprehended and experienced the grand Tao, it would be fused into his Tao domain, and it was like a myriad of Taos flowing into the ocean and returning to their origin. When he obtained the jade slip left behind by senior brother Xian Kong, it caused Lin Sun to be even firmer in his request for the Tao. Xian Kong was reputed to be invincible in the Saint Realm in the entire universe during the ancient times. On the other hand, Lin Sun's request was my Tao is the only one in the past, present, and future. Up until now, his Tao domain merely lacked a critical factor before it could be deduced to the limits of perfection. Why was Lin Sun unafraid of a battle with someone at the same cultivation realm before he came to participate in the Tao discussion and set his sights on a higher cultivation realm? The crux of the matter was that with the energy of the Grand Tao he possessed now, he was already capable of annihilating quasi-emperor realm existences a long time ago. So how could he possibly limit his gaze to a battle with someone of the same cultivation realm? In the Xuanji Dao sect, his battle record of going against 6 quasi-emperors by himself without being defeated was the best explanation of his strength. Bang! The heavens and the earth trembled while the sun and moon dimmed. A large abyss moved horizontally like a door that led to hell, and it intended to swallow the surroundings and suppress all living beings. A shrill cry. A furious roar. A shrill cry. All sorts of sounds resounded ceaselessly amidst the rumbling and intense collisions. This place seemed to have transformed into purgatory. At this moment, Lin Sun was undoubtedly the most dazzling and striking person in the surroundings. People were ceaselessly being eliminated. Even if they'd stepped foot into the peak of the Saint King realm, they still felt tiny and powerless in the face of that large abyss. Kill. Quickly kill. Zhu Feiyu's eyes almost split apart from rage. His hair was disheveled while his face was livid, and he didn't dare believe that this was real. Why do I feel like he's so similar to me, Wuya? Yen Yuro's pretty face was ghastly pale while her starry eyes were suffused with unrestrainable shock. A few days ago, they'd once seen Mi Wuya in a world of ice and snow. At that time, all of them felt terrified as if they'd fallen into an icy pit. The reason was that Mi Wuya, who seemed to possess an ordinary aura, possessed a formless and mighty aura. Even if they had the advantage in numbers, they still felt helpless and isolated before him. It was an oppressive and helpless feeling of being tiny. At this moment, Yen Yuro once again experienced this feeling from Lin Sun. He was different from Mi Wuya. The feeling Lin Sun gave her was that of an invincible god in this realm. He possessed a divine might that could absolutely crush anyone and an unparalleled demeanor. Boom! Suddenly, an enormous and unparalleled devouring power surged over Yen Yuro, who was still in shock, felt her body turn sluggish as if she'd been shackled by a layer of shackles. She was being dragged toward the distant abyss. Her expression immediately changed. Millions of misty rain of light swirled around her body. It was resplendent and beautiful, and only then did she violently shake off the devouring power. Some of the powerhouses around her couldn't hold on. Like moths that had been captured, their figures fell uncontrollably into the abyss. Their expressions were filled with terror and unwillingness. They were instantly eliminated. "I'll fight you to the death," Zhu Feiyu roared. His figure seemed to be burning as he brandished his sword and attacked. Sword chi pierced through the sun like a white rainbow, and he slashed out hundreds and thousands of times in the blink of an eye. Every single sword chi was blazing and illuminated the sky. However, in the end, all of them fell into the abyss like suns silently sinking into the darkness and disappearing without a trace. This made Zhu Feiyu's limbs turn cold. How could he be this powerful? "Is that all you've got?" At that moment, Lin Sun shot a glance at him and raised his hand to press down with a finger. The force of the finger condensed in midair. It was vast, obscure, and chaotic. Wherever it passed, the void, dust, and airflow were completely devoured. And in Zhu Feiyu's eyes, the finger was like a gaping mouth that had split open in the void. It was about to devour him completely. His body trembled as he instinctively dodged with all his might. Boom! Several powerhouses in the area where he had been standing failed to react in time before they were engulfed by the force of the finger and vanished from the scene. Gasp! Zhu Feiyu drew a cold gasp as his heart convulsed violently. He didn't dare imagine how severe the consequences would have been if he hadn't dodged. Condense! At that moment, Yen Yuro also realized the severity of the situation. She did not hesitate to cast her Dao domain. She saw a hazy, dreamlike misty rain suddenly transform into a picturesque landscape. The misty rain was like a curtain that encompassed everything. Misty rain of lands. Falling into it was like falling into the depths of a dream. It would cause cultivators to silently lose their consciousness and mind, and they would be reduced to lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Most terrifying of all was that even those with a firm mental state would suffer all sorts of unimaginable dangers when trapped in misty rain of lands. It was practically impossible for them to escape. The misty rain of lands was also unanimously praised and thought highly of by the seniors of the dark yellow Dao court. They felt that the quality of this Dao domain could be said to be extraordinary. It was sufficient to dazzle the ancients and be recorded in the annals of the Grand Dao. Go! Yen Yuro's expression was solemn and ethereal. She revealed a disdainful demeanor, and she no longer had the panic and shock from before. All of this stemmed from her confidence in the strength of her Tao domain. Chapter 2046. The hazy misty rain fell like a dream. The mountains and rivers were majestic, and all sorts of phenomena were born. This was the embodiment of Yen Yuro's cultivation. It was the true foundation that allowed her to remain ranked 7th on the All Heavens King Sage board. As a result, she appeared extremely confident at that moment. Her dejection had been swept away. However, along with the deep and obscure abyss moving through space, the heavens and the earth turned dark while the hazy misty rain seemed to evaporate and was devoured without a single drop remaining. Moreover, the magnificent mountains and rivers were destroyed amidst the ceaseless rumbling of the abyss. Puff! Yenjuro coughed up blood. Her pretty face was deathly pale. Only then did she realize that the cultivation and foundation that she was so proud of seemed so fragile at that moment. This was a true contest of cultivation. There was nothing fake about it. This also dealt an extremely heavy blow to Yenjuro's state of mind. It was as if someone had hit her with a stick. She felt like she was about to collapse. Why was a fellow from the Cloud Province so powerful? Whether it's a blessing or a curse depends on whether she can walk out of this shock in the future. Tai Shu Hong, who had witnessed this scene, sighed softly. In this direct confrontation, in this struggle for the great Tao, Misty Rain had completely lost. Even Lady Yen has been defeated. Zhu Feiyu could no longer describe his current feelings. Resentment, anger, shock, confusion. They were brewing like a raging sea. At this moment, there were only 9 people left out of the original group of over 20 experts on the battlefield. Moreover, this number was still increasing, as a core successor of the Demon Court and a peerless figure ranked 8th on the All Heavens King Sage board, Zhu Feiyu had seen all sorts of heaven-defying monstrous geniuses. However, he had never expected that Jean Di, who had come from the Cloud Province and had never attracted anyone's attention, would be so shockingly powerful. Zhu Feiyu could not help but feel regret. Why did he provoke such an opponent in the first place? Rumble. The world shook as the intense battle continued. However, Zhu Feiyu and the others' fighting spirits had long been shaken and had begun to waver. They could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. They began to feel fear. The opponent was too powerful. He was alone, but he had the power to dominate the entire battlefield and suppress everyone else. In front of him, even the dazzling figures from the 6 great Tao courts like them appeared dim and weak. This is impossible, impossible. In the distance, Wang Tu was in a daze, and his face was pale. When he witnessed the scene of Lin Sun being besieged, he was very excited and thought that Lin Sun would definitely be eliminated. But now, not only did everything he expected not happen, Zhu Feiyu and the others were being slaughtered to the point where they could not hold on any longer. Wang Tu was unable to accept all of this. Miss Xianyu, Brother Jean, where did he come from? How could our Yunzhou raise a godly person like him? Lu Dubu, Xieyuhua, Su Muhan, and the others were all in a trance and shock. Jintian Xianyue shook his head. Of course, she knew that Lin Sun did not belong to the Cloud Province. He did not even belong to the primordial world. However, she knew nothing about Lin Sun's background. She only knew that Lin Sun had an unimaginably powerful sect behind him and an inconspicuous senior fellow apprentice who looked like a farmer. And this senior fellow apprentice had once killed a martial emperor from the Hidden Land realm with 3 punches. He had once suppressed the elder of the Jintian clan, Sword Emperor Fufeng, into submission. Just a senior fellow apprentice was already so terrifying. As the junior fellow apprentice, how could he possibly be an ordinary expert? Miss Yen, be careful. Suddenly, Zhu Feiyu's scream rang out. Lin Sun carried the abyss and punched at Yenjuro. The fist energy was like a dragon coming out of the abyss, and it emitted an endless power. The others could not save her in time. Yenjuro also sensed that something was wrong. Her pretty face was pale and transparent, and her starry eyes could not help but reveal a trace of despair. Was she going to follow in Tu Qianjue's footsteps and be eliminated? Was she going to have no chance of competing in the ancient celestial forbidden zone? Come here. Suddenly, a wisp of fiery red light flowed out of the scene, and it transformed into a delicate and exquisite figure. She wore black clothes, had jet-black beautiful hair that was combed into a braid that fluttered behind her, and she had a peerless appearance that was aloof and icy cold. As she struck out with her palm, a fiery red divine whip of laws swept out and bound Yen Yuro, bringing her away by a hair's breadth. Boom! Lin Sun's punch missed. As the fist energy spread, it swallowed up the void where Yen Yuro stood and collapsed. This made Yen Yuro break out in a cold sweat. This was definitely a moment when she had escaped from death. It was too thrilling. Senior Sister Ling. Looking at the woman in black who had saved her, Yen Yuro's eyes turned red. She was like a frightened cub that had found someone to rely on. The others in the field also noticed the woman in black. The eyes of Zhu Feiyu and the others lit up, and they were excited. Ling Hongzhuang, the core successor of the black-yellow celestial court, a peerless genius who could be described as a legend. It had been less than 100 years since she stepped into the Saint King realm, but she had already firmly ranked third on the King Sage list. If she was given more time, she would have the opportunity to compete for a higher ranking. And Ling Hongzhuang was Yen Yuro's senior sister. This made Zhu Feiyu and the others feel like they had seen their savior. At the same time, Lin Sun raised his eyebrows and said, "Finally, a decent one." The abyss behind him was obscure and mysterious. It was like an indescribable chaotic world, and its power was so great that it suppressed everyone present. Ling Hongzhuang patted Yen Yuro on the shoulder, then said to Lin Sun, "The black-yellow celestial court will not get involved in this matter. If you want to fight with me, it won't be too late to wait until we enter the ancient immortal forbidden area. I will accompany you to the end then." Her voice was as frightening as the edge of a knife. After saying that, she turned into a wisp of fiery glow and teleported away with Yen Yuro. Left, Zhu Feiyu and the others, who had originally thought that their savior had come, were all dumbfounded. Ling Hongzhuang had not only left, but had also taken Yen Yuro with her. She did not care about their lives at all, and Yen Yuro's departure had suddenly made them lose a powerful helper Lin Sun did not pursue. Ling Hongzhuang's aura was different from usual, and he also felt a faint threat. If nothing went wrong, even if he attacked with all his strength, he would not be able to determine the outcome of the battle in a short time. The most important thing now was to deal with the opponents in the field. Without any nonsense, Lin Sun launched another attack. Boom! The abyss rumbled, and an obscure devouring aura spread out. Zhu Feiyu and the others had been searching for Lin Sun for many days, and they were full of anger. But how could Lin Sun not feel the same? During this period of time, he would change his hiding place every day or two, hiding here and there like a mouse. The reason for this was to let Jintian Xianwei heal, and not because he was really afraid of the fighting and killing in the black-yellow secret realm. Now that Jintian Xianwei had already recovered, how could Lin Sun show any mercy? Similarly, others might fear and worry about the power of the 6 great Tao courts, but this did not apply to Lin Sun. It should be known that these opponents were either from the Qiankuan Tao court or the Demon court, and Lin Sun was now completely aware that the Qiankuan Tao court was one of the hostile forces that destroyed the foundation of Mount Fangsuan. The Demon court was just watching the fire from the other side, waiting to reap the benefits. When Mount Fangsuan was in trouble, they took the opportunity to attack, dividing up and snatching the forces owned by Mount Fangsuan. In such a situation, how could Lin Sun let them go? On the contrary, the black-yellow celestial court had always maintained a neutral position. As the successor of the black-yellow celestial court, Lin Sun did not feel much dissatisfaction even though Yen Yuro was rescued. Boom! In the following time, some people were swallowed by the abyss and eliminated instantly. Some were defeated by Lin Sun's fist force and sword chi and brought out of the black-yellow secret realm. When only Zhu Feiyu and the other 4 people were left, the remaining fighting spirit in their hearts completely collapsed, and they fled in all directions. Go! Hurry up! Zhu Feiyu was the first to flee. All his dissatisfaction and anger had been thrown to the back of his mind. There was only one thought in his mind: I can't be eliminated. Even if I lose all my face, I must survive in the black-yellow secret realm. Otherwise, I will lose the chance to go to the ancient, immortal, forbidden area. How could Lin Sun watch them leave? He launched a fierce killing spree without hesitation. In a few breaths, 3 more people were eliminated. However, when he was about to give chase, he frowned imperceptibly and finally stopped. Don't let me see you again. Lin Sun took a deep breath and turned back to the field. Brother Jean, Lu Dubu and the others, who had witnessed the unprecedented battle, all came to greet Lin Sun. Everyone looked extremely excited, with inexplicable shock and gratitude surging in their hearts. None of them had expected that Lin Sun, who had drawn a line with them a long time ago, would come to their rescue without hesitation when they were in trouble. He did not expect that he would be able to defeat Tu Qianjue, Zhu Feiyu, and the others single-handedly. They were utterly defeated. Witnessing Lin Sun's demeanor in the battle completely amazed them. Even now they were still in a trance. How many geniuses were there in the all heavens like him? Everyone, it's not safe to stay here for a long time. When Xianwei comes back, we will leave immediately. Lin Sun said quickly. As he spoke, he looked into the distance. Previously, he had already sent a voice transmission to Jintian Xianwei to capture someone. Based on his calculations, he should be able to return soon. Before the battle between Lin Sun and Zhu Feiyu was over, Wang Tu had fled in panic. Along the way, his childish face was full of unwillingness, panic, and resentment. Damn Jin Di! If he had told me he was so powerful, how could I not have helped him? How could I have regarded him as a scourge and worried about being implicated? He roared in his heart. His heart was bleeding. There was regret and chagrin, but more resentment. And Zhu Feiyu and the others, they all have an undeserved reputation. They can't even take down Jin Di. They are just trash. If I had known this, I wouldn't have leaked the news of Jin Di to you. I didn't kill him, but I became a villain who betrayed my companions. How can I raise my head in front of the world in the future? Wang Tu gnashed his teeth with hatred, and his face was distorted and ferocious. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded in his ears. You should pay the corresponding price for doing something wrong. It's useless to escape. This month, there were only supplementary updates, which made many children feel anxious. Goldfish also felt very guilty. It was the last day of the month, so he would update tonight anyway. Chapter 2047. Her words were like a clap of thunder. Wang Tu's body stiffened and he leaped up. A gigantic fire python appeared on his childlike body. It was covered in scales and had a single horn on its head. Its body was like a winding mountain ridge, and it emitted a terrifying aura that could burn the sky. It was formed by the power of the realm of Tao, and it was the embodiment of Wang Tu's cultivation. The fire python soared into the sky. With a roar, an endless rain of fire poured down in torrents. The nearby mountain rocks were all melted and turned into boiling soup. Humph, you are just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Jintian Xuanyue's graceful figure appeared. She waved her fair and slender fingers, and a dazzling golden spiritual sword slashed out. In a flash, the fire python's gigantic head was chopped off. Boom! The sky full of fire rain dissipated. Wang Tu's expression changed. In the Dao discussion of Yunzhou, Jintian Xianwei advanced to the 7th place by drawing lot. Originally, Wang Tu did not believe that such a woman could be so powerful. But now it seemed that he was wrong. Very wrong. Miss Xianwei, we have already drawn a line. Why are you still chasing me? Wang Tu shouted. It's not too late to ask when you see Brother Jean. As Jean Tian Xianyue spoke, she began to attack again. Damn it! Why are all of you targeting me? Wang Tu's face was twisted and livid. He clashed with Jean Tian Xianyue like a madman. In just a moment, he was suppressed by Jean Tian Xianyue. Blood spurted from his mouth and nose and he collapsed on the ground. If Jean Tian Xianyue had not been merciless, he would have been eliminated. Miss Xianyue, please let me go. I promise in the future, Wang Tu begged for mercy. But before he could finish, Jean Tian Xianyue grabbed him by the back of his clothes and teleported him away. When Lu Dubu and the others saw Jean Tian Xianyue carrying Wang Tu, who looked like a dead dog, they were stunned at first and then felt very happy. This kind of treacherous fellow should be severely punished. Plop! Wang Tu was thrown away and rolled in front of Lin Sun. His face was swollen and he looked extremely embarrassed. But he did not care about that and hurriedly begged, Brother Jean, please spare me for the sake of the Yunzhou camp. Spare you? Impossible. Su Muhan's expression was gloomy as he gnashed his teeth and said, I can understand your rejection and resistance to Brother Jean, but you should never have betrayed Brother Jean. I've already told you that your despicable and shameless actions will definitely bring you to ruin. Wang Tu's face alternated between green and white, completely panicking. There's not much time left. I'll give you a chance. Do you want to end it yourself, or do you want me to help you? Don't worry, no one will die in the mysterious yellow mystic realm. You will only be eliminated in the end. Lin Sun looked indifferent. As Su Muhan said, it was understandable that Wang Tu resisted and rejected him, but it was absolutely unforgivable that Wang Tu betrayed him. Brother Jean, are you trying to force me to my death? Wang Tu screamed. Lin Sun turned a deaf ear and said, I count to 3, 1, 2. At this moment, Wang Tu's eyes were red. He looked towards Lu Dubu and the others, hoping that they would plead for leniency for him. However, what he saw were faces of undisguised disgust and disdain. 3. When Lin Sun counted to 3, Wang Tu suddenly roared and said with a ferocious look, Jean Di, you've gone too far. Just when he was about to say some harsh words to vent his anger and resentment, he saw Lin Sun press out his palm. Boom! The power of Lin Sun's palm covered the sky and suppressed his body inch by inch. His muscles cracked, his bones and tendons were broken, and he was bleeding all over. He screamed in pain. His miserable appearance made Lu Dubu and the others tremble all over. Was this the consequence of betraying Jean Dui? In the end, Wang Tu was eliminated before he could finish his harsh word. Let's get out of here quickly. As if he had done a trivial thing, Lin Sun raised his eyes and looked around, and then led the crowd to leave the scene. Yuruhua, you're right. Jean Di is indeed powerful enough for us to attach great importance to him. As soon as Lin Sun and the others left, a man bathed in light walked out of the scene. When he walked, many demonic patterns emerged under his feet. He was dressed in a black robe and had snow-white hair. He walked in the dark with light all over his body. It was Ji Bai. Beside him, Yuruhua, whose aura was as sharp as a divine sword, said in a low voice, Who do you think is stronger between him and Mi Wuya? Mi Wuya is extremely low-key. Ever since he entered the black-yellow mystery realm, he has barely shown his face. If it was in the past, I would still be able to guess some clues. But now, even I can't see through him. Ji Bai thought for a while and said, Jean Di is very unexpected. He is obviously seeking the ultimate path of transformation. If what he displayed just now was his ultimate power, then I'm confident that I can compete with him. After a pause he continued, but if he didn't expose his limit just now, then, it's hard to say. Yuruhua narrowed his eyes slightly and nodded. No matter what, for the sake of the qualification to enter the ancient immortal forbidden zone, we shouldn't fight with such people in the black-yellow mystery realm. Ji Bai smiled and sighed. Mi Wia Huangfu Xiaonong, Ling Hongzhuang, Shang Xian, and Feng Bailing from the 6 Dao courts and the 10 war clans, and Jing Tianan, Wen Yu and I Zhulu, and Ni Zhulu from the other starry sky realms. Based on what I know, there are already nearly 20 people who can compete with us. If we include those who have yet to show their prowess, we're not going to be lonely when we enter the ancient immortal forbidden zone. Yu Ruhua stretched and said, the competition for the great Tao should be like this. Only when there are opponents can there be fun in conquering and competing. By the way, don't forget that there are still many people like us who focus on pursuing the Tao and ignore the affairs of the world. Of course I won't forget them. Jibai laughed. Yu Ruhua suddenly thought of something and said, Jin Di seems to have noticed us when we were hiding in the dark just now, so he didn't go after Zhu Feiyu and others. Do you think Jin Di will bear a grudge against us because of this? Jibai was stunned and said, in my opinion, Jin Di should not be such a narrow-minded person. What's more, isn't it better for Zhu Feiyu to be alive? If he meets Jin Di again in the ancient immortal forbidden zone, it will not be as simple as being eliminated. The two talked and left the battlefield together. In the outside world, on the main peak of Xianhuang, witnessing Lin soon defeat Tu Qianjue, Zhu Feiyu, and others one after another with his own strength, a group of emperors couldn't stay calm. Not only does Jin Di have superb attainments in spiritual tattoos, but he has also mastered the ultimate killing power in seeking the great Tao. What is his origin? Someone asked. Have you noticed that the inheritance and means he used in the battle are also untraceable? Some people's eyes flickered, feeling that there were many mysteries about Lin Sun. Maybe we should ask Brother Xia about this. Taishu Hong looked at Xia Xinglie. Many people suddenly realized that Xia Xinglie had favored Lin Sun from the beginning. He even didn't hesitate to fight with Fire Spirit Empress and Burning Sky Demon Emperor for Lin Sun. This inevitably made people think that Xia Xinglie had long known the details of Lin Sun. To tell you the truth, I do know something about him, but I can't say much about his origin. After thinking for a while, Xia Xinglie said vaguely. His words made all the emperors ponder. Extreme Demon Sword Emperor Xia Xinglie knew about him, but he didn't want to reveal his background. From this, it could be seen that Jin Di's background was definitely not simple. From the beginning to the end, no one suspected Lin Sun's origin from the top of Mind Mountain. The reason was that he had been wearing the Rui Taoist robe from the beginning to the end, which covered all the mysteries around him and could avoid the detection of emperors. Li Xianwei also said that as long as he didn't use Infinite Wei Bottle, Endless Wei Tower and other emperor treasures, even emperors couldn't see through the Rui Taoist robe. Xia Xinglie murmured in his heart, Lin Sun, I've tried my best to help you hide your identity. If you dare to mistreat my daughter in the future, I'll teach you a lesson. While they were talking, Fire Spirit Empress of the Universe Taoist Court and Burning Sky Demon Emperor of the Demons Court looked gloomy. The core descendants of the two Taoist courts had joined hands, but they were defeated by Lin Sun alone. This made them feel very uncomfortable. They couldn't be angry. If they were to argue with a junior, they would become a joke in the eyes of the emperors present. Everyone, look! Shang Xian, who's ranked 10th on the All-Heaven King Saint ranking, has actually revealed an extremely heaven-defying battle strength. His might isn't inferior to Ling Hongzhuang and Huangfu Xiaonong. Interesting. Looks like Shang Xian has been enduring for a long time. It's not just Shang Xian. Look at Feng Bailing. I remember he is ranked 6th on the Holy King list, but the strength he's showing now is also very shocking. Soon, the Emperor's attention was attracted by the battles in other areas of the Xianhuang Mystery Realm. The Xianhuang Mystery Realm wasn't big, but the experts distributed in it were all top-notch Holy King cultivators. Among them, there were some peerless geniuses who were not inferior to Lin Sun, such as Shang Xian and Feng Bailing. The strength they showed surprised the emperors. Some people had hidden their fangs and claws for many years, and once they did, they would shock the world. Shang Xian and Feng Bailing were obviously such people. However, Lin Sun's appearance didn't bring as many surprises to the Emperor realm bigwigs. The reason was that Shang Xian and Feng Bailing were peerless figures who had long been famous in the world. No matter how powerful their performance was, it wouldn't be too shocking. Only Lin Sun was like a comet that streaked across the sky. Almost no one noticed his existence before the Dao Exchange Grand Gathering. It was precisely because of this that everyone was extremely surprised when he revealed his abilities. More updates. Goldfish would go all out tonight and add one more update before midnight. Chapter 2048. The news of Lin Sun defeating Tu Qianjue, Zhu Feiyu, and other strong practitioners by himself quickly spread in the mysterious Yellow Secret Realm. For a time, there was an uproar, and shocked discussions rose one after another, making Lin Sun become one of the most eye-catching figures in the mysterious Yellow Secret Realm. When he heard the news, the successor of the primitive Taoist court, Kong Zhao, who was also searching for Lin Sun, also changed his expression. He had been injured by Lin Sun outside the gate of the mysterious Yellow Taoist court. Although it was a minor injury, he regarded it as a great shame. Later, when he heard that Xian Rujia and others were eliminated by Lin Sun, Kong Zhao was already furious. Without hesitation, he led a group of successors of the primitive Taoist court to search for Lin Sun. But now Kong Zhao hesitated. Under Lin Sun's hands, Tu Qianjue was eliminated, Yen Yuro was rescued, and Zhu Feiyu fled. There were more than 20 people in the lineup, but in the end, only a few people were lucky enough not to be kicked out. This was undoubtedly too scary. From now on, stop the search for Jin Di. Finally, Kong Zhao took a deep breath and made a decision. Reason told him that if he insisted on making things difficult for Lin Sun, it would be very difficult to get the qualification to go to the ancient immortal forbidden area. Jin Di, when we enter the ancient immortal forbidden area, I promise you will beg for death. Kong Zhao secretly gritted his teeth. Junior brother Tu Qianjue and others were eliminated. Huang Fu Xiaonong put his hands behind his back, and a cold light emerged in his eyes. Originally, he had promised that as long as Tu Qianjue and others found Lin Sun's trace and sent a message, he would rush to help as soon as possible. But in the end, he waited for the news that Tu Qianjue and others were eliminated. Jin Di. I'll remember. Junior brother too, don't worry. I will avenge you. Huang Fu Xiaonong took a deep breath and suppressed the killing intent in his heart. If it's just elimination, it will be too easy for him. I hope he can enter the ancient immortal forbidden area. At that time, I will cut off his head and make a wine cup for you. In the mysterious Yellow Secret Realm, Lin Sun took Jintian Xianyue, Lu Dubu and others and hid again. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Although Lin Sun was the center of attention, he was also pushed to the top of the limelight. Moreover, he had Jintian Xianyue and the others by his side. Even if he wasn't afraid of anything, he still had to consider whether Jintian Xianyue and the others would be affected. Choosing to lie low was undoubtedly the wisest choice at the moment. In a cave, Lin Sun counted the harvest after these days of fighting. He got a total of 375 life talismans. That was a staggering number. It should be noted that there were only more than 1,800 strong people participating in the Tao discussion conference, and the number of life talismans in Lin Sun's hands meant that 375 people were eliminated and became Lin Sun's records. The reason why there were so many was that the strong men Lin Sun defeated all had a large number of life talismans. 87 life talismans were taken from Tu Qianjue alone. With these life talismans, my results in this Tao discussion shouldn't be too bad. Lin Sun pondered. He didn't intend to fight and compete anymore. First, as time went by, the competition in Xianhuang's secret realm would only become more and more fierce. Second, he didn't intend to expose his means too much. It should be noted that there were many emperors watching everything in Xianhuang's secret realm. Even if he wore the Rui Taoist robe and appeared in the platinum Taoist body, Lin Sun still had to be cautious. Lu Dubu and others had no objection to Lin Sun's decision. Now, with Lin Sun in charge, even if they were discovered when they were hiding, they had the capital and foundation to fight back. They didn't need to be as anxious as before. However, before hiding, Lin Sun went out alone. 2 days later, Lin Sun floated down on a bloody battlefield. With a palm strike, the earth cracked and formed a huge ravine. In the depths of the ravine, there was a figure lying there with his hands on his abdomen, without any fluctuation of breath. But at this moment, the figure suddenly opened his eyes and stood up, showing a vigilant look. However, when he saw the person, the figure immediately blurted out, "Brother Jean? How could it be you? Lung Xiujia, how did you get hurt like this?" Lin Sun frowned. This figure was Lung Xiujia. Lin Sun also found Lung Xiujia's breath through a secret method taught by Lu Du. But Lung Xiujia's breath was weak at this moment, and his face was pale. He looked like he had lost a lot of energy. Lung Xiujia said bitterly, "Brother Jean, you don't know." Next, he told Lin Sun the whole story. It turned out that after leaving Lu Dubu and others' team a few days ago, he was originally going to look for Yuanzhu Forest. But he was attacked on the way, so he was seriously injured. It was also with the help of a marvelous breath-concealing secret skill that he managed to hide in the deep underground ravine and escape the disaster. "Brother Jean, do you know who attacked me?" Lung Xiujia suddenly said. Before Lin Sun could speak, he had already said, "It's the successor of Hidden Land Realm, one of the 3 dark giants." Lin Sun's pupil shrank. "Are you sure?" Lung Xiujia said with a serious expression, "Brother Jean, I cultivate in the Buddhism lineage, so I am also a Buddhist cultivator. My cultivation is integrated into my field of Tao, Saha Buddhist fire. How could I not recognize the aura of the successor of the Hidden Land Realm?" Speaking of this, he frowned and said, "This is a Tao discussion event jointly organized by the 6 Tao courts. Now there are people from the dark world sneaking in. Can't those Emperor Realm figures in the outside world see it?" Lin Sun also had this doubt in his heart. Just like Wu Huang and others who were defeated and eliminated by him, they were also successors of Divine Sunshine Ancient sect from the dark world. Even he and Lung Xiujia could see through each other's identity. How could those Emperor Realm figures in the outside world not see through it? There must be something hidden that we don't know, Lin Sun said after thinking for a while. Lung Xiujia agreed. Without delay, the two left the ravine together and rushed to the place where Jin Tian Xianyue and Lu Dubu were hiding. On the way, Lin Sun also learned that there were 4 successors of Hidden Land Realm who sneak attacked Lung Xiujia. The leader was a monk with the Dharma name Wu Xian, and his strength was extremely terrifying. This reminded Lin Sun of Wu Ming, the successor of Hidden Land Realm, he met on the boat. After returning to the hiding place with Lung Xiujia, Lin Sun completely hid himself and didn't go out anymore. Time passed day by day. Soon, a month had passed since the beginning of the Tao discussion event. During this period of time, the competition in mysterious Yellow Secret Realm became more and more cruel and fierce. Whether it was the strong people from various provinces, the influential figures from the 6 Tao courts, the 10 war clans, or the monstrous talents from other starry skies, there were many who were eliminated. And now, the ones who could stay were all stronger and more abnormal than the last. Some dazzling people, such as Huangfu Xiaonong, Ling Hongzhuang, Yu Ruhua, Ji Bai Wenyu, Jing Tianan, and others, showed different sharpness and elegance, leading the way. Those Emperor Realm figures who were watching the battles from the outside world frequently sighed with emotion and praise, thinking that these young people in the world were far more outstanding than they were in the past. On the contrary, Lin Sun, who had hidden himself, seemed to have disappeared during this period of time, and there was no news of him. Of course, Mi Wuiao was even worse than him. He had been lying low since the beginning of the Tao discussion, and didn't participate in the competition and killing at all. Time passed. The number of strong people who survived the competition and killing became fewer and fewer. At this time, the mysterious yellow secret realm seemed empty. It was no longer like the beginning, where one could encounter many strong people along the way. Moreover, the strong people who could stay were all the most ruthless among the ruthless people, and each of them had amazing skills. Even if they encountered an opponent, they would retreat without hesitation once they sensed that something was wrong. They didn't seek to kill the enemy, but to protect themselves first. Some strong people were even like Lin Sun, lying low and waiting for the end of the Tao discussion. Lin Sun and the others were completely unaware of all this. During this period of time, Lin Sun focused all his attention on the Tao domain. He had a strong premonition that the opportunity he lacked was coming soon. Clang! On this day, a vigorous bell suddenly sounded in the mysterious yellow secret realm, followed by the voice of the mysterious yellow Taoist quartz sect master, Taishu Hong. The Tao discussion is over. There are only 108 of you left in the mysterious yellow secret realm, and you are the victors of this Tao discussion. As his voice fell, Lin Sun felt his body being wrapped by an invisible force, and he suddenly left this world. At the same time, the strong people who were distributed in other areas of the mysterious yellow secret realm were also moved out of the mysterious yellow secret realm at the same time. On the huge platform halfway up the mysterious yellow main peak, Lin Sun and the other 108 figures appeared one after another. In an instant, they glanced at each other, identifying the identity of the strong people who had won like them. Lin Sun saw the linen-clothed youth, Xian Jiuyin, Tang Su of the Frenzy Saber Battle Clan, Hua Xingli of the Demon Court, and Zhuan Xuheng of the Cosmic Taoist Court. At the same time, Lin Sun also noticed that many people's eyes fell on him, and all of them had a subtle feeling, as if they were getting to know him again. Among them, there was also cold hostility and hatred. For example, Kong Zhao, Huangfu Xiaonong, and others did not hide their hostility. Suddenly, when he noticed one of the gazes, Lin Sun suddenly felt a sense of danger in his heart. He turned his head to look. Not far away, in the camp of the Panwu Taoist court, a white-clothed man with snow-white hair was standing there quietly. His eyes were as clear as water and as calm as a lake, as if they could reflect all the phenomena in the world. The sun, the moon, and the stars were floating in them, deep and quiet. When he noticed Lin Sun's gaze, the man smiled calmly. At this moment, a name quietly emerged in Lin Sun's mind, Mi Wuya. The fourth update was delivered. Chapter 2049. Mi Wuya. A peerless genius who had dominated the Holy King list of all heavens for 600 years, a legendary figure who dominated the starry sky. But Lin Sun did not expect him to be so handsome, like a young man. Of course, this was just the appearance. The remaining dangerous aura in Lin Sun's mind silently proved how unfathomable this person's foundation was. Now, the results of this Tao discussion will be announced. The first place will get a chance to comprehend the Tao in front of the black and yellow Tao tablet. Taishu Hong's voice sounded like a thunder from the ninth heaven. 108 experts, including Lin Sun, all showed a look of disbelief. What? The result of competing for life talismans in the black and yellow secret realm could also be rewarded? They didn't know this at all before. For a moment, many people showed a look of chagrin. If they had known this, they would have fought for more life talismans. Even Mi Wuya, Huangfu Xiaonong, Ling Hongzhuang and other peerless geniuses were stunned. They looked at each other, a touch of regret surging in their hearts. They were also a little regretful. The reward for the first place was to comprehend the Tao in front of the black and yellow Tao tablet. This was definitely a supreme good fortune. It should be known that the black and yellow Tao tablet was a treasure from an unknown place. It was also because of this treasure that the black and yellow Tao court had today's unparalleled foundation. If one could comprehend the Tao in front of the black and yellow Tao tablet, what a great fortune it would be. The Emperor realm figures around Tai Shu Hong were also stunned and a little unprepared. They also didn't know that there was a reward before. Otherwise, they would have told their disciples to fight for life talismans with all their might. This Tao discussion has received the attention of all heavens on the starry sky ancient path. It can be called an unprecedented event since ancient times. Tai Shu Hong smiled and said loudly, "Since this Tao discussion is held in my black and yellow Tao court, if I don't offer some rewards, I'm afraid the cultivators in the world will laugh at my black and yellow Tao court for being stingy." His words were full of spirit, but everyone smiled bitterly. Especially those 108 experts that had become eminent in the Tao discussion. All of them were swiftly calculating the number of talismans in their possession, and they were analyzing exactly what position they would be ranked at. The prize for second place is a mysterious yellow 9 aperture pill. On the other hand, when Tai Shu Hong spoke these words, another uproar arose in the surroundings, and countless people gasped. Mysterious yellow 9 orifices pill. This pill could be regarded as the greatest treasure of all time, the king of sacred pills in the heavens. It was rumored that not only did refining this pill require an enormous amount of natural treasures, but it would also provoke a terrifying heavenly tribulation during the process. This tribulation was also taken to be a great tribulation of the Tao of alchemy. The reason was that the miraculous profundities contained within the Skyearth 9 aperture pill was too heaven-defying, causing it to suffer the jealousy of the heavens. This also meant that the birth of the mysterious yellow 9 orifices pill also required opportunities and opportunities. Once this pill was refined successfully, it would cause the phenomenon of the heavens and the earth to appear, and the unprecedented scene of divine radiance drifting through the clouds, pill fragrance spreading for thousands of miles would appear. The greatest use of this pill was that it could increase the chances of success by 20% when breaking through to the peak of the quasi-emperor realm. Although it was only 20%, to any peak Saint King, even a glimmer of hope was enough to make them risk their lives, let alone a 20% chance of success? The reason was that the peak of the quasi-emperor realm was a threshold that was like a natural chasm, and only 1 in 10,000 could cross this threshold. This also caused peak quasi-emperors to be extremely rare in the current world. Whether it was in the primordial world or the other worlds in the starry sky, experts who could step into this realm could absolutely be said to be existences that were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. From this, it could be seen how precious the mysterious yellow 9 aperture pill was. In fact, on the sacred medicine ranking of the heavens, the mysterious yellow 9 aperture pill was ranked third, second only to the Emperor realization pill that was ranked first, and the origin fusion pill that was ranked second. However, these two pills had long since become legends, and had only appeared in the primordial era. This also made the mysterious yellow 9 aperture pill even more rare and precious. And now, the mysterious yellow Tao court actually took out a mysterious yellow 9 aperture pill as the reward for second place. Who could not be shocked? For a time, there was an uproar everywhere. Even the great figures of the Emperor realm were speechless. They blamed Tai Shu Hong in their hearts. Why didn't he say these things earlier? They were not prepared at all. Tai Shu Hong's gaze swept across the audience, and he said with a smile, "The reward for third place is an opportunity to enter my mysterious yellow Tao court's treasure tower to choose treasures. Of course, no matter what grade of treasure you like, you can only choose one in the end." The atmosphere became more and more sensational. Everyone was shocked by Tai Shu Hong's generosity, and their minds were in turmoil. It was rumored that the treasures in the treasure tower of the mysterious yellow Tao court could be said to be the best treasures in the world, and there was no lack of mysterious ancient treasures passed down from the primordial era and ancient times. After all, the mysterious yellow Tao court was one of the 6 major Tao courts. Who in the heavens didn't know about its rich heritage? Comprehend the mysterious yellow Tao tablet. Mysterious yellow 9 aperture pill. Choose treasures in the treasure tower. The three kinds of rewards that were full of unattainable temptations made many experts' intestines turn green with regret. Even Lin Sun was speechless for a while. If he had known earlier, why didn't he snatch more life talismans? Brother Taishu, you'd better quickly announce who the top three are. Xia Xinglie couldn't help but say. Taishu Hong nodded, and the atmosphere in the field became quiet. The third place, Jing Tianan, got 213 life talismans. As soon as the words came out, all eyes turned to Jing Tianan. This man had black hair in a bun and wore a Confucian robe. He was elegant and graceful. He was a peerless genius from the Jing Lu Star region, and his swordsmanship was mighty. For a time, many people's eyes became subtle. There was no doubt that Jing Tiannan's heritage was bound to be terrible with such a dazzling record. Thank you, Senior. Jing Tianan cupped his hands in obeisance. He was upright and calm, and didn't care about the eyes cast on him. Taishu Hong nodded and continued to announce. The second place, Huangfu Xiaonong, got 251 life talismans. Boom! There was a commotion in the field, and all eyes moved to Huangfu Xiaonong. Many people showed unwillingness, such as Yu Ruhua, Ji Bai, and others, all shook their heads with a wry smile. They admitted that if they had competed with all their strength before, they might not have lost to Huangfu Xiaonong and Jing Tianan. There were many experts who had the same idea as them. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret now. Thank you, Senior. Huangfu Xiaonong saluted with a touch of joy on his face. With the black-yellow 9 orifices pill, there was no need to worry about not being able to smoothly set foot on the peak of the Quasi-Emperor realm in the future. The first place, Jin Di, got 375 life talismans. When Taishu Hong announced it, there was an uproar in the field, and many people showed surprise. How could it be him? This guy defeated Xian Rujia, Tu Qianjue, Zhu Feiyu, and other terrible figures by himself. It's understandable that he has so many life talismans. Alas, this guy is so lucky. There are no heroes in this era. Let the boy become famous. For a time, all kinds of eyes were cast on Lin Sun. Some were jealous, some were envious, some were unwilling, and some were hostile and cold. Thank you, Senior. Lin Sun was also very surprised. He didn't expect that in the end, he would accidentally become the first place and get a chance to meditate in front of the black-yellow Tao tablet. Xia Xinglie laughed heartily and said, "Remember what I said? This boy has about 30% of my demeanor in the past." Fire Spirit Empress and Burning Sky Demon Emperor looked a little gloomy. Most of Lin Sun's dazzling achievements came from eliminating the successors of Qianquan and Demon's Court. How could they be happy about this? You can rest in my black-yellow Tao court. 7 days later, I will work with other Taoists to open a passage to the ancient immortal forbidden area for you. As Taishu Hong spoke, he told Lin Sun, Huangfu Xiaonong, and Jing Tianan, "The three of you, come here to see me tomorrow morning." Yes. Lin Sun and the others agreed in unison. Immediately, under the guidance of the successors of the black-yellow Tao court, the 108 victorious powerhouses dispersed one after another. Lin Sun, Jintian Xianyue, Lu Dubu, Su Muhan, and Xie Yuhua suddenly became particularly eye-catching, because among the 108 people, only their camp of Cloud State had 5 people who passed the Tao discussion. As for the other powerhouses at the continent realm, 90% of them had been completely annihilated. When they returned to their residence, Guanxu of the Great Void Taoism sect was already waiting there. This headmaster of the first Taoist court of Cloud State had always been dignified and calm, but at this moment, he seemed extremely excited. Because he had heard that 5 people from Cloud State had advanced this time, and Jin Di had even won first place. This kind of achievement could be said to be extremely eye-catching even in the 49 states of the world. The cultivation world of Cloud State should be proud and elated because of the 5 of you. Guan Su laughed from the bottom of his heart. He had never expected that Lin Sun and the others would be so outstanding in this Tao discussion that had received the attention of the world. Especially when Guan Su looked at Lin Sun, there was already a kind of respect in his eyes. Who could be disrespectful to such an outstanding person who dominated the Tao discussion grand meeting and suppressed all the other heroes? He strode forward and patted Lin Sun's shoulder, saying, "Jin Di, unique and unrivaled in the world. Ha ha, good. Good. Good." Lu Dubu and the others couldn't help but laugh. They knew very well that without Lin Sun's help this time, they would have been eliminated. "Brother Jin, congratulations, congratulations." Tingyi Chen and Guishan Xing also walked out of their residence and congratulated Lin Sun with a smile. After they were eliminated, they returned to their residence. Until now, when they heard that Lin Sun had won first place, they were still extremely surprised. "You too, I wasn't strong enough to save you before." Lin Sun felt a little guilty. Tingyi Chen and Guishan Xing shook their heads quickly. Just as they were about to say something, a cold voice filled with resentment and hatred suddenly sounded. "Jin Di, don't be too happy too early. When you enter the ancient celestial forbidden area, you will die for sure." In the distance, Wang Tu's childlike figure had appeared out of nowhere. His little face was livid, and he didn't hide his hatred at all. "Thank you, Qi Banqing, for your gift." Chapter 2050. The atmosphere fell silent. All eyes were on Wang Tu, and their expressions were filled with coldness and disgust. "Wang Tu, you went back on your word in the black-yellow mystery realm, betrayed your companions, and now you dare to curse brother Sha Jin." Lu Dubu suddenly stood out, murderous intent lingering around his body. "Today, I will first kill you, the traitor." Wang Tu's expression changed, and he said angrily, "How dare you? This is the black-yellow Taoism court, how can you behave atrociously? You are not the successor of the black-yellow Taoism court, why wouldn't I dare?" Lu Dubu said, about to attack, but was stopped by Guan Su. "Headmaster, why do you stop me?" Lu Dubu was furious. Xie Yuhua, Su Muhan, and the others also looked at Guan Su. "Wang Tu is right, this is the black-yellow Taoism court." Guan Su sighed softly. Everyone felt depressed in their hearts. Wang Tu sneered, fearless. This was also the reason why he dared to curse Lin Sun to his face. At this moment Guan Su changed the topic, saying, "However, I was the one who brought him here. Since there is a heinous traitor, I should be the one to clean him up." His words made Lu Dubu and the others first startled, then they could not help but laugh. It turned out that Senior Guan Su also did not like this guy. Wang Tu's smile froze, and he said, "Senior, this is the black-yellow Taoism court. If you kill me here, aren't you worried about retribution?" Guan Su's eyes were deep. "If you were one of the 108 people who successfully advanced, of course I would not dare to act arbitrarily, but you are not." He waved his sleeve, and the terrifying power of the quasi-emperor realm gathered and released, turning into a seal of a mountain, and suppressed Wang Tu on the spot. Boom! Amidst the explosion, Wang Tu screamed in horror, but he was unable to resist at all. His body exploded into pieces, and blood splattered everywhere. Everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The power of the quasi-emperor realm was vividly reflected in this attack. Even Lin Sun's eyes twitched. Only then did he realize that Guan Su was a terrifying existence of the third heaven of the quasi-emperor realm. Even if such a despicable person returns to the cloud plane, he will bring shame to his sect and become the laughingstock of the world. The Void Avatar did an inconspicuous thing and said, "In the days before heading to the ancient immortal Forbidden Zone, you guys have to cultivate well." Everyone nodded. "Where is Wu Huang?" Lin Sun asked suddenly. "He left in a hurry after he was eliminated," Tingyi Chen said quickly. Lin Sun sighed in his heart. This guy was the successor of the Divine Sunshine Ancient sect. If he was not killed, he would definitely come back for revenge in the future. It was also on that very day that news about the Tao discussion spread. First, the cultivation world of the Central Plains Tao province was shaken. Following that, the various provinces of the primordial world were also shaken. The news spread out of the primordial world at an even faster speed, to the other worlds in the starry sky. Jean Dui? Who is this kid? That kid can be considered lucky that Mi Wuya and the others didn't use their full strength. Otherwise, how could he possibly obtain first place? No matter what, from today onward, this kid's name will resound throughout the starry sky. Heroes are created by the times. It should be known that this Tao discussion had attracted the attention of all the heavens long before it began. When the news spread, one could imagine what kind of astonishing waves it would cause. And the name Jean D also spread throughout the heavens. He became famous overnight. The next morning, at daybreak, a successor of the Black-Yellow Taoist court came and took Lin Sun to the main peak of the Black-Yellow Taoist court. The mountain peak was shrouded in clouds. Taishu Hong stood there alone. Although he was silent and motionless, he had the momentum of overlooking the heavens like a ruler. Little friend, your performance in the Black-Yellow Secret Realm has been seen by me and some old guys. Very good. When he saw Lin Sun, Taishu Hong said with a smile. Senior, you flatter me. Lin Sun cupped his hands in greeting, neither humble nor arrogant. It was not that he had never seen people in the Emperor realm, such as Shi, Guyupu, Li Xianwei, Pu Zhen and other senior brothers in the heaven-accessing secret realm, as well as Qingyang Saber Emperor and Fufeng Sword Emperor. After seeing so many Emperor realm existences, he naturally would not appear too restrained and nervous. Taishu Hong laughed heartily. Haha, this is not a flattering compliment. A few days ago, because of you, Xia Xinglie and some other old guys were at loggerheads and caused a lot of trouble. No matter what, at least in my eyes, your cultivation has reached the peak of the Saint King realm. After a pause he continued, well, it's getting late. I'll take you to the place where the Black-Yellow Taoist tablet is. Taishu Hong waved his sleeve, and the next moment, he and Lin soon disappeared. The depths of the Divine Green Mountain was listed as a forbidden area of the Black-Yellow Taoist court. It was filled with chaotic qi all year round, and the mountains, rocks, grass and trees were covered with a heavy imprint of the Great Way. From time to time, there were thunderbolts flashing in the mist, emitting a terrible and frightening aura. A stone tablet only 2 feet high stood quietly, mottled and ancient, flowing with the breath of time. It was very inconspicuous, and there was no writing on its surface, just like a stubborn stone. But it had a name that everyone in the heavens knew, the Black-Yellow Taoist Tablet. In primitive times, the founder of the Black-Yellow Taoist court found this tablet in an unknown place, and from then on opened up the great foundation of the Black-Yellow Taoist court. In the eyes of the world, the Black-Yellow Taoist tablet was the foundation of the Black-Yellow Taoist court, a chaotic treasure with unimaginable power. When Lin Sun, led by Taishu Hong, saw the tablet, he couldn't help but be a little surprised, because it looked too ordinary. Divine objects hide themselves, and treasures are formed by nature. My young friend, this is the Black-Yellow Taoist tablet. There are many rumors about it in the outside world, but most of them are absurd exaggerations. Taishu Hong looked at the Black-Yellow Taoist tablet and said, in fact, the most magical function of this treasure is the word enlightenment. At that time, the founder of our sect sat in front of this tablet, meditated for 300 years, and created the supreme scripture, Black-Yellow True Scripture. In the years that followed, some of the predecessors of my sect successively comprehended numerous profundities from this tablet. There were obscure and profound grand daos, miraculous and world-shocking combat Tao techniques, and so on and so forth. Speaking of this, Taishu Hong looked at Lin Sun and said, before comprehending this treasure, I have one thing to tell you. Lin Sun said solemnly, Senior, please give me some advice. Comprehending the Tao here is also about seeking opportunities and fortuitous encounters. Since the ancient times until now, countless sages of my dark yellow Tao court have comprehended the Tao here, yet only a few were able to gain anything in the end. Taishu Hong said, "Now there are 314 descendants of the peerless Saint King realm in our sect, but only 9 people, including Ling Hongzhuang and Yen Yuro, have gained some good fortune in the Enlightenment. The others have gained nothing." Lin Sun thought for a moment and said, "I understand." Taishu Hong said with a smile, "Of course, even if you gain nothing, I will not treat you unfairly. However, it is not too late to talk about this after you have comprehended the Tao." As he said, he pointed to the black-yellow Taoist tablet. "Go, this is a rare opportunity. Don't waste any more time. When you go to the ancient, immortal, forbidden area, I will come to pick you up." "Thank you for your kindness, Senior." Lin Sun saluted and thanked him. Then he stepped forward and sat cross-legged in front of the 2-foot-high black-yellow Taoist tablet. Taishu Hong's figure quietly disappeared. Here, the chaotic qi was pervasive, and soon Lin Sun and the black-yellow Taoist tablet beside him were shrouded. Lin Sun took a long breath, then held his breath and concentrated, calming his mind to sense. Time flew by. After 10 minutes, Lin Sun frowned and opened his eyes, revealing a touch of doubt. In his perception, the aura of the black-yellow Taoist tablet showed a chaotic scene, and he could not perceive any mystery at all. He also tried to explore with his divine sense and his own cultivation, but it was also in vain, and he found nothing. Was it really as Senior Taishu Hong said, that this good fortune was not destined for him? Lin Sun pondered for a moment, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes again. He was not reconciled to this. Anyway, there was still a lot of time, so there was no harm in trying more. 2 hours passed. 4 hours passed. Half a day passed. To Lin Sun's surprise, he failed again and again under his repeated attempts, and he could not comprehend anything at all. This made Lin Sun doubt whether this seemingly inconspicuous stone tablet was the legendary and unpredictable chaotic treasure. "Let me try again." Lin Sun gritted his teeth and closed his eyes again. He didn't know that while he was meditating, there were many supreme thoughts paying attention to this place in this forbidden area filled with chaotic qi. These thoughts all came from the old antiques living in seclusion in the black-yellow Taoist court, and each of them had enough strength to make the world tremble. At this time, one of the thoughts suddenly said, "It has been almost a day. It seems that this boy has no fate with the black-yellow Taoist tablet. I thought there was finally a great boy in this world. I never thought that he was just SOSO. It's a pity that there is only one chance to meditate on the black-yellow Taoist tablet every 60 years. Now it was wasted by this boy. Hey, has this little guy given up?" All of a sudden, an aged thought rippled in his mind. In front of the black-yellow Taoist tablet, Lin Sun stood up and paced around. He frowned as if he had encountered a great problem. It doesn't matter whether he gives up or not. After all, not everyone can meditate on the black-yellow Taoist tablet. Everyone don't pay attention to it anymore. Well, soon, these thoughts seemed to be very boring and disappeared quietly. In this mysterious forbidden area covered with chaotic qi, there was only Lin Sun and a black-yellow Taoist tablet beside him. After a long time, Lin Sun stopped and sat down beside the black-yellow Taoist tablet, murmuring, "I can't force it." He stopped thinking and began to meditate to deduce his own Tao field. Back in the Xianhuang mystic realm, he had a strong premonition that the opportunity to perfect his Tao domain to a perfected state was about to arrive. Chapter 2051. In yesterday's update, the number of people who had advanced from cloud state was 6. Ling Xiujiao was omitted. Chaotic qi filled the air and the world was silent. Gradually, the power of the Great Way emerged in front of Lin Sun. It was like chaos, indescribable, and obscure laws intertwined in it, floating and flowing. Sometimes it condensed into a furnace, containing the charm of all Tao and a great force that could suppress the past, present, and future. Sometimes it evolved into an abyss, which was deep and boundless, as if it could swallow the whole universe. Sometimes all the strange phenomena returned to chaos. Lin Sun's Tao was constantly tempered and condensed in this kind of gradual evolution. The Tao field was a field condensed by the Tao controlled by oneself, like a world. Because of the different quality, the power it possessed was also different. Generally speaking, the more profound one's Tao was, the higher the quality of the Tao field that could be condensed, and the stronger the power it possessed. However, in order to condense some unparalleled Tao field, in addition to profound Tao, great perseverance, great courage, and great wisdom were needed, and endless efforts were needed to perfect it. In addition, an opportunity was also needed. For example, Lin Sun had already condensed the embryonic form of the Tao field when he stepped into the early stage of the Saint King realm. But until now, many years had passed, and he had already reached the late stage of the Saint King realm, but he still needed an opportunity to temper the Tao field to the extreme. In a few days, the operation to the ancient immortal forbidden area would begin. At that time, the danger and killing he would face was bound to be unimaginably terrible. This made Lin Sun feel a kind of pressure in his heart. And if he could perfect the Tao field to the extreme, it was tantamount to having a kind of self-protection foundation when he entered the ancient immortal forbidden area. Time passed quickly like water. Lin Sun was completely immersed in deducing his own Tao. Since he stepped into the Saint King realm, all the insights and experiences he had gained over the years were like clear spring water flowing into his heart. Over the years, he had studied the scripture of herbs of heaven and understood the mystery of the Tao contained in all things in the world. He had comprehended the great Wei Yellow Court scripture and understood the supreme mystery contained in the 5 internal organs. All the Tao scriptures he possessed had been integrated into his own Tao unconsciously during his cultivation. For example, the boundless devouring scripture from the master of Tong Tian, the 9 cauldrons world-suppressing scripture from the imperial Yu clan, the great scripture of solitude created by holy monk Du Ji and Black Phoenix, and the Tai Xian sword scripture from the Tai Xian sword emperor. Besides this, the experiences he'd experienced in the countless battles and slaughters he'd experienced in these past few years, and the experiences he'd tempered through. Blood and fire and life and death were like a form of accumulation that had transformed into a part of his attainments in the Tao. But no matter what kind of understanding and experience he had, it couldn't affect or change Lin Sun's heart of Tao. His path could contain 10,000 Taos, could deduce 10,000 laws, but it was irreplaceable. Because the Tao he sought was the path of past, present, and future, there is only one Tao. Of Dragon, of Lin of, he of the Tao and the sect. Sect, Shang sect, the Tao of Lin sect was, of heaven, of the Tao, of Xian, and he was Tao. All. Of, was, and the Tian of Lin. Tian of. The past Tian, the sect, the Tian Tao also became. All these insights, cognition, experience were like a kind of accumulated potential of Tao, erupting in Lin's heart. The 9-story platform was built from the soil, and the wood was born from the end of the hair. As the saying goes, good preparation is the key to success. Gradually, Lin forgot everything. His consciousness was ethereal, in a trance, and he forgot the passage of time, the integration of all things, the sky, the earth, and people only in front of him. His Tao was like chaos, floating and rolling, indescribable. A breath of disaster emerged from the depths of the sky, flashing with a taboo, horrible power, as if the supreme order of heaven was violated. Taboo tribulation? At this moment, some old fogies in the dark yellow Taoist court felt a tremor in their hearts, for they noticed a trace of abnormality. What a terrible taboo tribulation! I have never heard of such a tribulation since primitive times. Every 100,000 years, there will be an abnormal, heaven-changing tribulation in this world. The Taoist War of 10 Sides at the end of primitive times and the Taoist War of Emperors at the end of ancient times all broke out because of the great change of heaven and earth. Could it be that this taboo tribulation is a similar omen? No, this is just a taboo tribulation, not a disaster that affects the heavens. I suspect that this taboo tribulation was triggered by someone. Triggered by someone? Who in the Central Earth Province has such ability? In the dark yellow Taoist court, terrifying thoughts swept out and rushed into the sky. At the same time, in the vast Central Earth Province, in the places where the major Taoist courts and ancient forces were located, the old fogies who had lived in seclusion for countless years were alarmed. Taboo power! How many years has it been? How could such a terrifying power appear again? Check it out quickly. Xia Xinglie, who was a guest in the dark yellow Taoist court, raised his eyebrows and suddenly looked up at the sky, his eyes surging with a terrifying divine light of the great path. His eyes were like torches that could see through the heavens. Beside him, Tai Shu Hong, Juyin War Emperor, Fire Spirit Empress, Burning Sky Demon Emperor, and others all felt a chill in their hearts and stopped what they were doing. However, no matter if it was the seniors that lived in seclusion in the Dark Heaven Dao Court, the old fellows that were scattered throughout the various powers of the central continent, or Xia Xinglie and the others, before they could sense it carefully, that wisp of aura that seemed like a taboo was concealed by an obscure and miraculous force. Who is it that can cover the taboo power? What an amazing method! Is it the Tao ancestor? The taboo descended from heaven, but it was covered. Such a strange thing has never happened in ancient times. Every old monster was surprised and bewildered. In the forbidden land of heaven and earth, Lin Sun, who was immersed in refining his Tao field, did not notice that when the taboo tribulation aura appeared, a line of primitive Taoist text from the beginning of ancient times appeared on the heaven and earth Taoist tablet behind him. Tao is not forced, opportunity comes by itself. With just a flash, the 8 words turned into a touch of obscure power and rushed into the sky, completely covering the taboo tribulation aura. The taboo tribulation that was originally aimed at Lin Sun was resolved silently. Crash waves of terrifying will envelop the area. However, at this moment, the dark yellow Taoist tablet was no different from before. Sitting cross-legged in front of the dark yellow Taoist tablet, there was no unusual aura on Lin Sun's body. It's not this boy. Yes, he is just a holy king. How could he trigger such a terrifying taboo power? What happened today is too strange and strange. I don't know if anyone in the Central Earth Province can see any clues from it. Let's go. We should also discuss the future. There are less than 1,000 years left before the 100,000-year deadline. During the conversation, these terrifying thoughts dissipated like the tide. And Lin Sun also knew nothing about these. He was immersed in meditation, surrounded by the air of chaos, and his state of mind was also like chaos, vague and absent-minded. Even the Tao domain condensed in front of him was chaotic and indescribable. However, the aura it emanated faintly carried the aura of perfection to the extreme. Chaos is one is the beginning of all Tao. After an unknown period of time, Lin Sun's heart spontaneously came to a kind of understanding. The Great Way returns to its origin, 9 by 9 return to 1. Heaven gives birth to 4 9 and only 1 escapes. My Tao is only 1. Boom! In front of him, the deep and unfathomable Tao field tumbled, emitting a terrifying aura, and the surrounding air of chaos was swallowed up. Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2. With a move of Lin Sun's mind, the chaotic Tao field turned into the shape of a furnace, like an eternal divine furnace that could accommodate all Tao in the world. Immediately after, the furnace changed into a great abyss, unfathomable and boundless, as if it could swallow all things in the world. Chaos was 1, giving birth to the shape of a great furnace and the shape of a great abyss. This was the so-called 1 begets 2. Boom! As the Tao field boiled and operated, Lin Sun's spirit and cultivation all poured into it. In an instant, the Tao field showed the beginning of chaos, the clear and turbid were divided into heaven and earth, and the scene of all things emerged around the void. It was like a magnificent and complete vast world, with the latitude and longitude of the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, all phenomena around the void, the four seasons, and the changes of all things. Sometimes there were wind and clouds gathering, and sometimes there were flashes of thunder and lightning, deducing the astonishing phenomenon of the world changing and the cycle of the sky. Three begets all things. At this moment, Lin Sun was like the ruler of a chaotic world. An indescribable wonderful feeling filled his chest, and a sound of Tao resounded in his heart. My Tao field is called chaos. Someday, above the heavens. At this moment, a line of primitive Tao text appeared on the black and yellow Tao tablet behind Lin Sun. The elephant is invisible, and the chaos is one. In the depths of an unknown place. The sky was broken, and a long river of thunder and lightning poured down from the fracture. The rolling thunder and lightning turned into a torrent, rolling and surging on the earth. The nearby mountains were terrifyingly strong, and they remained motionless even after being washed by the long river of thunder and lightning. There was a Taoist temple on the top of one of the mountains. A woman was sitting in front of the Taoist temple, with soft eyebrows and eyes. She was holding an embroidery needle between her slender and white fingers. She was quietly embroidering a dress with her head down. However, the line of the embroidery needle was a dazzling bolt of lightning, and the clothes were made from a type of beast skin that was covered in natural Tao markings. With every fall of her needle, countless rules of the Great Way emerged, like wonderful and indescribable cloud patterns. Taboo tribulation? A ripple suddenly appeared in the woman's heart. She stopped what she was doing and looked at the fracture of the sky. A taboo tribulation power was panoramic to her. But soon, this taboo tribulation was covered up. It seems that only the chaos treasure born in this unknown place can cover up the taboo aura. Is it the power of the black and yellow Tao tablet? The woman was thoughtful. Third senior sister. A dull voice sounded from a distance. Chapter 2052. A dark-skinned man wearing a straw cape and a bamboo hat took a step forward and teleported over. Pu Zhen, the 11th heir of Fangtsuan Mountain. A terrifying existence that looked like a farmer, dull and simple. He had once appeared on the boat and killed an old monk in the hidden land realm with 3 punches. Even Sword Emperor Fufeng of the far ancient imperial family could only bow his head in front of him. However, when he came to the peak of the mountain beside the thunderstorm river, he seemed very reserved in front of the woman who was sitting in front of the temple. Junior brother, why are you here? The woman stood up. Her eyes were gentle, and her voice was as gentle as the spring breeze. Pu Zhen answered honestly, Third senior sister, junior sister Juanhuan asked me to pass a message to you. Juanhuan? The woman's lips curled into a smile. I'm guessing she's throwing a tantrum again and forcing you to come, right? Pu Zhen scratched his head awkwardly. Actually, I haven't seen you in a long time, so I wanted to come and see you. The woman couldn't help but laugh. This 11th junior brother was still as dull and honest as before. She asked, What message did Juanhuan ask you to pass? Pu Zhen quickly transmitted his voice to her. The woman was silent for a moment. So it's like that. Are you really going to reappear in the world with another identity? She looked up at the crack in the sky. Her gentle eyes flashed with determination. Forget it. Since this is the decision of Juanhuan and junior brother Xianwei, I will go. Pu Zhen bowed. Only if you come, senior sister, will there be no accidents. Wait a moment. An embroidery needle moved swiftly between the woman's slender and fair fingers, and it formed numerous seemingly material marks of the Grand Tao. Under the drag of the embroidery needle, the strands of lightning threads were like numerous cloud markings, and they floated up into appearance on the beast's skin that contained dense natural Tao markings. Pu Zhen was amazed. It had only been a short time since they last met, but third senior sister's cultivation had become more and more unfathomable. If he wasn't mistaken, that piece of beast skin came from the body of an emperor beast called the demonic centipede. It was a great ominous beast, a natural-born fiend god that possessed the terrifying strength to devour Emperor Realm experts. On the other hand, those strands of lightning came from the energy of order in the depths of the universe, and it was said to be one of the heavenly punishment lightning, the profound amplification Tao lightning. Just a wisp of it was enough to crush an emperor's body. But in the hands of third senior sister, no matter if it was the demon lynx emperor beast or the profound dispersion Tao lightning, both of them had actually become materials to sew clothes. This caused Pu Zhen to sigh with emotion. Compared to third senior sister, my methods are simply completely insignificant. Whoosh! Not long after, the woman raised her hand and threw a Taoist robe that had just been sewn into the air. It suddenly expanded and covered the sky. The Taoist robe had actually patched up the broken part of the universe. The long river of thunderstorms that was flowing down from the rupture also stopped abruptly, not a single drop leaking out. This scene was simply like the scene of mending the heavens in the legends. On the other hand, the woman seemed as if she'd done an extremely ordinary thing, and she smiled warmly. "Junior brother, do you want to travel with me?" Pu Zhen shook his head. "Junior sister Juanhuan is still waiting for my reply." The woman chuckled. "That little girl actually took you to be an errand boy. I have to give her a good scolding when I see her next." Pu Zhen laughed bitterly. "Senior sister, you must not act like that. If she's scolded by you, she'll definitely vent her anger on me, and I'll be the one who suffers in the end. You spoil this girl too much." The woman couldn't help but smile as she shook her head. "Never mind, then I'll be leaving first." Her hair was coiled up with a wooden hairpin, her appearance was plain, and she wore a plain dress that was embroidered with cloud patterns. Her figure was graceful, and she was graceful and quiet. Along with a single stride of hers, the mountains and rivers flowed in reverse, the world changed, and everything in the world seemed to have become a contrast beneath her feet. In an instant, she'd vanished without a trace. The landscape was still the same, but it seemed to have lost a form of brightness because of her departure. Her name was Ruosu. She was ranked third on Heart Mountain. The day of heading to the ancient immortal forbidden area had arrived. Early in the morning, Lin Sun and the other 108 powerhouses were gathered and waited on the enormous platform of the main peak of heaven and earth. Everyone's hearts were filled with anticipation, and there was a trace of faintly discernible nervousness. Ancient Immortal Forbidden Area. One of the famous 8 great forbidden areas of the primordial world. It was located in the depths of an unknown and dangerous place, and it had a fearsome reputation since ancient times. Rumor had it that almost all the Emperor Realm existences who went there never returned. As for cultivators below the Emperor Realm, they didn't have the ability to approach that fearsome place at all. Now, the 108 peerless Sage Kings were about to head there to search for a fortuitous encounter related to a chaotic treasure. Who wouldn't be nervous? However, they'd already found out that a shocking change had occurred in the ancient immortal forbidden area not long ago. It was suspected that an ancient treasure had appeared, and it caused a change in the power of order and laws in the forbidden area. It was also because of this shocking change that the 6 great Tao courts saw a trace of hope, and after many deductions, they finally came to a shocking conclusion. If they wanted to enter the ancient immortal forbidden area to obtain the treasure, they had to work together and use their strongest techniques to break a path through the barrier of the ancient immortal forbidden area. However, such a path was extremely unstable. Once an Emperor Realm cultivator stepped on it, it would collapse instantly. In other words, even if they broke a path, they wouldn't be able to withstand the power of an Emperor Realm cultivator. Therefore, the 6 major Tao courts unanimously decided to hold a Tao sparring event to select a group of top-notch sage kings as candidates to enter the forbidden ancient immortal lands. By doing so, they could also avoid large-scale battles between orthodoxies for the treasure. In that case, no orthodoxy could afford to be tossed around. Lin Sun and the other 108 powerhouses were the candidates who were qualified to enter the ancient immortal forbidden area. And today they were going to set off. Jean D, I heard that you comprehended the Tao in front of the heaven and earth tablet but gained nothing? Just as they were waiting, someone suddenly chuckled. The voice came from the primitive Tao court. It was Kong Zhao, and there was a hint of mockery in his voice. Many people nearby had a strange look on their faces. They had also heard that Jean D, as the first in the selection of the heaven and earth secret realm, had obtained an opportunity to comprehend the Tao in front of the heaven and earth tablet. This had originally made people extremely envious and jealous. Who would have thought that in the end, he had no fate with the heaven and earth tablet, so that he gained nothing? Many people couldn't help but take pleasure in his misfortune. Huangfu Xiaonong, who ranked second, obtained the Heaven and Earth 9 Orifices pill. Jing Tianan, who ranked third, went to the treasure tower and was extremely lucky to pick a mysterious and powerful treasure. It was rumored that it was a divine sword called Lingyao, which was created by a supreme sword emperor in the primordial era. This also aroused the envy and coveting of many people. Only Jean Dui, who ranked first, ended up with nothing. This made many people finally feel much better and much happier. Lin Sun glanced at Kong Zhao and said, "Although I gained nothing, I saw and understood the magic of the heaven and earth tablet. What about you? You don't even seem to be qualified to get a reward, do you?" Kong Zhao's expression froze, and he snorted coldly without saying anything. The experts who were gloating felt their faces heat up. They felt that Lin Sun's words seemed to be mocking them. Lin Sun would not tell them that it was these days of meditation in front of the heaven and earth tablet that allowed him to reach the peak of Tao in one fell swoop. This kind of harvest was enough to satisfy Lin Sun. "Later, I will lead you to Cloud Mountain with the other Taoists. When the time comes, we will work together to open up a path to the ancient immortal forbidden zone. The 108 of you can enter and search for the whereabouts of the chaos treasure." Suddenly, the voice of Taishu Hong sounded from the mountain peak. Lin Sun and the others looked up and saw Taishu Hong, Xia Xinglie, and the other Emperor Realm figures had appeared at the mountain peak. Each of them was like a supreme ruler. Cloud Mountain was located in the extreme north of the Central Earth Taoist province. North of Cloud Mountain was an unknown land that seemed to have no boundaries. To go to the ancient immortal forbidden zone, one had to start from Cloud Mountain. Lin Sun and the others were already aware of this information. Remember, this path can only last for 3 months. After 3 months, no matter whether you get anything or not, you must return in time. Otherwise, you will be trapped in this path for the rest of your life. Taishu Hong's words made Lin Sun and the others' hearts tremble. "Okay, we can set off now." When Taishu Hong was about to take action, the Fire Spirit Empress suddenly said, "Wait." It was just 2 words, but everyone's eyes were attracted to her. This trip to the ancient immortal forbidden zone is of great importance. Everyone knows what a chaos treasure means. The Fire Spirit Empress's eyes were deep and cold. "This time, we gathered the power of a group of Emperor Realm experts and joined forces with many forces to get a chance to go to the ancient immortal forbidden zone. I don't want this opportunity to be tainted by some people with ulterior motives." Her words were like a clap of thunder, shocking everyone present. Ulterior motives? Did the Fire Spirit Empress notice something? "Fellow cultivator, these 108 people were all selected under our noses. How could there be anyone with ulterior motives?" Taishu Hong frowned. He didn't expect that the Fire Spirit Empress would suddenly say such words before they set off. "Brother Taishu, there are many powers in this world that are able to avoid our detection. I'm only saying this just in case. After all, it wasn't easy for us to obtain this opportunity. No matter how careful we are, it wouldn't be too much. The Fire Spirit Empress looked indifferent. As she spoke, she flipped her palm, and an antique bronze mirror appeared in her hand. She said, "This is the treasure of my heaven and earth Taoist court, Tai Taoist mirror. No matter what kind of disguise, as long as it's under this mirror, there's no place to hide." As soon as he finished speaking, Xia Xinglia's pupils suddenly constricted. This old thing actually took out such a treasure at this time. He knew the power of the Tai Taoist mirror too well. Not only could it see through disguises, but it could also break all kinds of illusions.